What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Season Gaming Bitcast, episode 209. I am your host, Ainsley Bowden, and we are three of a quartet here today. Dan is traveling, but of course, you have these two fine-looking gentlemen here as well. First, certainly not first. That didn't line up well. We're going to keep moving. Mr. Hoeg himself. Good morning, sir. Good to have you back in proper form here.
Yes, well, it was fun doing radio broadcasts last week, certainly, but I'm happy to be back in front of my camera and my delightfully awesome wall that I know people really love. But yeah, I don't know about Travis, but every time you introduce us as, handsome or well-dressed or good-looking man, I wonder if you're looking at a different stream.
I don't like to tell people I watch other podcasts while hosting, but yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one of these days I'll get a good intro correct, because I think I've messed up the last three, but I'll keep working at it. And looking super dapper this morning in celebration of the spirit of America, Mr. Travis himself. Good morning, sir.
Good
Got
morning.
The lapel pin and all.
The lapel pin is out of control, but other than that, yeah, I went with it, full commit. I was like, should I wear something? It's 4th of July tomorrow, and then I was like, oh right, I have a suit with American flags in the lining. Yeah, I should wear that. So
I love it.
There you are.
Do we need the story? Oh, you got the bald eagle. Do we need the story of how you ended up with a suit with American flags on the inseam?
Well, I order all my suits custom, and I like to do weird stuff with the lining. Don't we all? Yeah. And some of them have really weird stuff in there, like jellyfish or something.
Sure.
Something. Because you never see it, so you can just make it weird. And then one of the times I was like, oh, they got an American flag. I'll wear that. That might come in handy someday on this blue suit.
And this is the day.
This is it.
You were waiting for Bitcast 209.
It kind of is, yeah, because this is my debut of the suit, because I haven't had any reason to wear a suit that's this aggressively blue. It's like very blue. It's real blue. Yeah. So anyway, happy birthday, America. I will celebrate by continuing to not care about the royal family. That's my little personal ode to our independence.
That's your protest, the Royals?
That's my protest. The Royals. No one cares.
Well, as you can see, Dan is away with family this weekend traveling. We debated on doing a show just because of the holiday weekend, but of course we wanted to come through and do one anyway. We have a few things to talk about, and we're going to be primarily talking about the Game of the Year race in 2022 so far, since we're just over the halfway mark as we record this, and what's coming out the rest of the year, because we have a better picture of what's coming later this year now, and we can talk about any of those games we believe may contend for Game of the Year as well. We're also going to talk about some Halo Infinite news with co-op. We've got the Nintendo Direct Mini with a couple games from there we're going to touch on, and a few other things we just want to mention. But before we get to all of that, a little house cleaning, little house cleaning. So this week coming up. So next week's show, we got a lot of feedback last week. And Travis, this is credit to you with your idea, sir. We got a lot of positive feedback last week about having a show where we simply roast the greatest games of all time. We got comments. I got people on Twitter reaching out saying that sounds like a hilarious idea. And they love the fact that I think last week we attacked 5 of the best games ever made. So next week,
in my head, I'm calling it W3YFG. That's my name for it, which stands for What's Wrong With Your Favorite Game.
There you go. That's my title for next week. You already wrote it for me.
W3YFG, baby.
So next week, we're going to do a special show. We'll cover, if there's any big news that happens in the week, we'll touch on that, of course. But we're going to do a special show where the 4 of us will be back, because it'll be the first time the 4 of us back in a month together properly. And we're gonna take
after all that effort I exerted to come in logo form last week. I tell you, just look down upon.
That's why I added properly. We need you in front of the maroon wall, or it's just not the same.
Red. This is like a rose red. It's very calming.
It's very nice.
It is.
Yeah,
it's a nice color. It's a nice color.
Yeah.
So next week we're gonna do a show where we're gonna just basically pick quite a few of what would be considered the greatest games of all time, and we're gonna tell you why they're not the greatest games of all time. We've already had a few submissions from people who want to hear about specific games. and us talk about them.
Just do this like a carnival trick. Tell me the game. We got something.
yeah, we will. We'll do that with chat next week. That's it. It's going to be part of the fun.
Some of these could still be the greatest games of all time.
That's right.
I just think they also have a lot of problems that you could talk about.
They are also, in fact, created by human hands.
Yes,
that's right.
Yes. So, Chad, I hope you can join us, or if you listen to this later, try and join us live because it should be a lot of fun. We'll take games that you throw in the chat. But I bring that up also because we're going to be doing a giveaway leading up to that. So we're going to be giving away two copies of any game of your choice for any platform. Leading up to that, what we're going to be asking is to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And make sure you're subbed, of course, to Season Gaming YouTube, of course. So I'll put that up on Twitter this week. I'm just giving the people here listening the heads up, but it should be a really fun show next week. So I hope you can join us. And with that, I'm going to jump over, guys. I got my Steamdeck email finally.
Yay!
Finally. They Steam announced, or Valve announced, that they're upping production. So it seems like production, at least in some areas of the world, are starting to get back. Because I know the GPU kind of crisis is slowly ending, which is nice. But they're going to be creating, or manufacturing Steamdecks at a faster rate now, and a bunch of us got our emails this week. So I ordered it on like Wednesday, I think, or Thursday. So hopefully I get it this week. Should be cool.
It gets there quick.
It's very fast. Like 3 days. You'll probably have it on like Monday.
So you guys got me excited because I ordered it, right? And I don't know why in my head I was thinking I was paying for it, and it was just like I wasn't thinking of it as a normal transaction. Like I was thinking like, okay, it'll come October or something.
When it comes.
Yeah, you know.
And, so was I.
A couple other people were like, oh no, you'll have it in like a few days. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Mine came on a Tuesday. I had it on the Thursday.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. So
Mine
Thursday, because this is a holiday weekend, maybe I get it Tuesday or Wednesday. But that's awesome, man.
You got a good shot at Tuesday, yeah.
I'm gonna buy all the Pixel remasters in celebration. Yes. Got to do it.
I tell you what, the power of the Steam Deck just owns those Final Fantasy Pixel remasters. So
that's what I'm most excited to play.
Like butter.
That's what I'm most excited to play, are like those classic games that I don't play because I don't normally game on PC. So there are a bunch of things on Steam and PC that you just can't get on console right now. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Well, and if you don't have a fake dock for your Switch already with a C in and an HDMI out, get one for the Steam Deck because it works perfectly with it. I was playing it on TV all week. It's a Super Switch.
Sweet. Can you play? What do you use for controllers? Are like Bluetooth connectivity?
It works with the Pro controllers for the Switch. I haven't tried the other ones, but I think it works with everything.
Awesome.
Bluetooth, yeah.
Awesome. I'm excited. Cool.
Using the Steam Deck in a docked mode with the TV is the most insane thing I've ever heard. That is
a more powerful Switch.
Yeah, but you could just use a PC if you're going to connect it to a TV anyway. Why wouldn't you just use like a computer?
Because it's a Switch, so you just put it on the desk that you already have the wire that connects your Switch to the TV, because I don't use their docks. And so the wire goes into the Steam Deck, and then it's on your screen, and you're not moving laptops around or doing anything more robust than that.
So to double down on Hoeg's point, like right where I'm sitting right now, right, I have a big desktop that I created for editing, right? I'm not going to carry this all the way over to my theater and hook it up. You know what I mean?
Or wire your house. Like, no, it's just it's a Switch. Right. So any place that you've had a Switch that you've put into your TV, you just put the Steam Deck in instead. And the stuff that you'd otherwise be buying on the Switch, primarily, like, I'm not Nintendo games, obviously, but like the indie side of things. I told you I'm playing AI too. I would have gotten that on the Switch. Instead, I get it on the Steam Deck, and it doesn't have the performance issues that the Switch has fairly frequently. So it's just a Super Switch, which is what I wanted Nintendo to release for the last 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Travis still seems baffled by this decision.
I play a game on my gaming PC, and then if I need to go mobile, I turn on my Switch and then my Steam Deck, and then my save is there because of the cloud. So it seems like
that's good stuff.
Kind of don't need the dock. You know what I mean? Because the cloud exists.
I don't know what the cloud has to do with it. It's when you want to play it on a TV from your couch with a controller.
Okay, so I see the problem now, which is that is how I play my PC normally. My PC is in my living room, connected to my 80-inch TV.
Right. Well, we're not in a San Francisco apartment here at Hoeg House, so we'd have a wiring issue. But yeah, no, it's a lot easier to move the Steam Deck. You get a nice case with the hundreds of dollars you just gave Gabe, and you walk it around, and it doesn't get you divorced because you took up too much space in the back of your car going on vacation, that kind of thing.
Nice. Yeah. For the record, I also live in a house in San Francisco.
I actually didn't know that, Travis. I didn't. Yeah. Every time I see you in the pre-show, you're scrambling to set up your space. And I figured that was just the only.
Yeah. No, I don't have a permanent studio, but I do live in a house. So.
Oh my God. All right. So I'm excited about that, but had something big come out this week. I want to talk about it, and we can talk about what we're currently playing as well. Is the new Cuphead, which I ranted about a few weeks ago.
I thought that you might have the opening music changed to "Delicious Last Course." I had no idea.
I
excited about this one.
I know. I did a charity live stream this week where I played through the entire thing. That was a lot of fun. So played through it, and then it's got some secrets. It's got a secret boss. It's got different challenges in the achievements and stuff, which are much harder than just beating the bosses normally. So I'm working on that yet, but it is excellent. I love it as a total package. That game, I think, is one of my favorites of all time now. I still have the same complaint. I wish it was bigger. It's exactly what I was worried about. Basically, I played it on stream and beat the whole thing in about 2.5 hours. So, I wish there was more to it, but, I'm still very happy we got new Cuphead, and it's very, very, very well done. Pretty incredible bosses.
I've loved it. Now, I'm not you, Ains, so it's a lot harder for me to get past these things. But it's a lot of fun. It's more Cuphead.
Yeah, it's more, and the boss design is amazing. Music's amazing. Some cool secrets, like I said. Yeah, it's fun. Good stuff. Can't beat it. What else you guys playing, man? What's good?
Well, I'm playing AI. I mentioned that last week. I have played Cuphead. I'm continuing with Final Fantasy V. And then what we were playing most yesterday was Stranger Things Season 4 Part 2.
Yes. Do we want to talk about it? So
we can't talk about much, except I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite seasons of TV in a long, long time. And it is rare for a show that is as long-lived as Stranger Things to reframe the narrative of what came before that was largely successful. And Season 4 does that pretty spectacularly, I would say, leading into their final season. In whatever year that might be. My daughter, who has been watching with me, said, well, when do you think this will come out? I said, your best hope is that it comes out before you enter high school, which age is, unknown and things like that. But she's like, oh, really? I was like, yeah, you got to crack at that. You got a few years. Yeah. By the way, Mrs. Hoeg Law in the house. She said, for the record, would not divorce Rick over packing the car with too many games as long as there's still room for souvenirs. I feel like the conversation style through chat is perhaps a little different than from standing outside the trunk of the car. I'm just not sure. But I love you, honey.
Bree, never worry about spoilers here. We wouldn't do that to you, I promise. In fact, I posted on Twitter last night that for some reason there's all kinds of posts on Twitter just showing like scenes from the finale.
Yeah, no, I'm very, very careful about that. I would never, ever do that. No. I wouldn't even want anything ruined. So you're always safe with me on that.
Yeah, you're safe here. I posted that people need to chill out because, come on, man, it's been out for now 2 days, but it's ridiculous.
I gave it 9.5 out of 10.
I'm with you. Yeah, what you said, I completely agree with. I told people, that's not only one of my favorite seasons of kind of TV in a long time, but I also think it's a blueprint of how you do what I would call big budget entertainment, right? Big budget, meaningful characters. As you said, it kind of reframed and redeveloped the kind of core of what Stranger Things is. Just an amazing, amazing season. Excuse me.
And no, what I said to my daughter yesterday is it's rare where you can actually have something that elevates like the rest of what came before. Yes. And it's like I like all of Stranger Things more now, having watched season 4 than I did, even though I liked it before. And yeah, about budgets, it's so funny, My daughter didn't want to watch it while we were on vacation because we had a little TV. She's like, we're not watching it on that, Dad. And I was like, okay, all right. But you forget how well they had done the cinematography and the budget for that particular show because you get used to watching other things. And other things are fine. Normal is fine.
Halo?
But, yeah, well, sure. Halo, Halo and Obi-Wan and like these things that are struggling with putting budget up on screen. And Stranger Things, you watch the first like 10 minutes of part 2 and you're like, oh, right, they're playing at this level.
Yeah, it is. It's an entire. You're right. It's an entirely different. It's like you've taken up this big step up. You're like, oh yeah, now I remember why I like this so much.
It is. I'm sitting there going, oh yes, they're doing this right now. So in any event, absolutely love it. It's a 9.5 for a reason. It's not a 10. There's some pacing things and whatnot. It's not perfect. It's made by humans, but it is my favorite series season in a long time. Highly recommended.
Loved it. Are you into? I can't remember, Travis. Did we talk about this before? Are you into Stranger Things?
I've watched the show, including season 4.
Just not as big of a fan, huh? All right, fair enough.
It's okay.
Okay.
All right. Now, out of curiosity, since I'm told that we can say stupid things here to take up the podcast time.
Well, Travis already did his, so.
Travis already did stupid things? Well, just because he doesn't understand why a Steamdeck would ever be wanted to connect to a TV.
I think connecting to the TV. We got done with
Obi-Wan. We didn't talk about Obi-Wan last week. If you had to compare, which season did you like better? Stranger Things season 4, Obi-Wan Kenobi. See, okay, so the pause is long enough that it doesn't matter what you say now, Travis. That's totally fine.
They're both pretty meh, in my opinion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You're one of the extremely few people I've heard say that Stranger Things 4 was meh. I think it's pretty universal.
Vecna. I like the bad guy. I thought that was
Vecna's
cool.
Awesome.
Okay.
It's sort of like more Stranger Things, man. It's just a lot of that show. They do not respect your time. They give you so much of that show, man. That's all.
So we could talk about that too, because I like longer things. Like I like longer movies. I like things that kind of flesh themselves out more, assuming they're good and not ridiculous, right? Yeah, I don't know. I like it. I mean,
the last episode is 2.5 hours, which is like the full run of a movie, and they accomplish less than like any movie that is 2.5 hours. You know what I mean? Like just in terms of story progress, it's basically one episode of TV, just really in super slow motion.
I love you, man. You're awesome.
It's just so slow. I'm kind of just bored by TV. I'll be honest with you guys. Maybe I'm not that ass. There's a reason they don't have me reviewing TV shows.
Oh, you do have some. You do.
Look. In my tweet, I said it's indulgent in its editing, and it is. They're in love with their characters. Even the ending epilogue is very like kind of Lord of the Ringsy. It's got like ending. But I think if you do love what they are doing and what they put together, just like it works for me in Return of the King, it works for me here. So it's fine if you think it's meh. I think Obi-Wan and Stranger Things season 4 at least are on wildly different levels of quality, but that's okay.
I mean, if you're judging it based off of the production values, I would agree with you. But I'm just looking at it as a use of my time, which are very different bars, I think.
2 different things.
Well, I mean, we have to discount. I mean, how many hours do you have in Destiny?
Right, yeah. I mean, everybody spends their time the way that they want to. I just think that, one of them I'm in control of the character and choosing my time I'm spending in different areas, and one of them somebody is spending it for me, right? And telling you where to look. And
now, this is an interesting philosophical debate between passive and active entertainment, video games, TV, and movies. I don't feel like people are.
You have to like the director. You have to like the director's like vision and them spending the time telling you what to do. Whereas in a video game, there's a lot more freedom to kind of, the game has lots of things, and you can spend your time looking at one part of it versus another, and so you get out of it what you want more than when you're watching a show. Is the way
you wouldn't say that's largely illusory, and that you're still limited by the assets and creation points of what was put in front of you, even in a game like Destiny.
No, because like something like PvP, that's not even something that the developer put in the game. It is a, there's an unknown quality to it where
but PvP is largely treadmill running. I mean, you're doing the same thing over and over again, and maybe seeing some new stuff.
That's an interesting way of thinking about it. I think that's coming from somebody who probably doesn't play a lot of competitive games. Yeah, because I wouldn't say that. I would say it's iron sharpening iron. It's you getting your skill and kind of pushing yourself and figuring out the sandbox a little bit more, and you're learning because it's involving you. Whereas, you don't do a lot of learning when you watch a show. It's a very passive thing. You're kind of just laying there, letting it all happen to you.
You don't do a lot of learning when you consume art.
Yeah, I mean, something like Stranger Things, I wouldn't say you do.
Really?
Depends on the art. If I'm watching a documentary, sure. If I'm watching Stranger Things, I'm just watching some old people be happy that the 80s are back on TV. That's what I'm
Oh
saying.
no, he had to take the low road. He took the low road.
Is it the low road,
You
or
don't-
is there
That's
something?
the
You
low
don't think there's
road.
value in storytelling, the human
Of course
experience,
I do. Of course.
philosophy?
Okay. Way to straw man me, Hoeg. I know you know better than that, but that is not what I said
You
at
walked
all.
into it. You created the straw man yourself.
No, you created it, and now you're blaming it on me. But that's a nice try, but it's not at all what I said, and I think you know that. So I'm just saying that the way that you spend your time when you watch TV versus playing a game are very different. One lets you choose usually how you spend your time, unless it's a more linear game, and one says no, this is how you're spending it, and that's fine. I get that lots of people like TV shows more than I do. I just it's never been my thing.
You don't have to like TV, but I don't think you can discount that you can learn about either yourself, the human experience, others, empathy, sympathy.
You can, but it's harder when you're watching Stranger Things because it's junk food. There you go. This is not Stranger Things is not terribly. You're presenting it like it's on the same level as the Sistine Chapel. It's not. It's a show about aliens and psychic powers, and I have to watch 11 get put in chains over and over again every season, relive all of her traumas, and I'm just like,
a couple people in chat are like, "What did I walk into here?"
I don't even. I'm just gonna hand you more rope, Travis. It's all good.
If you think it's rope, I think that I'm just saying it how it is.
By the way,
there's some people in the chat.
I was trying to say there are a few people who agree. I still think you're in the vast minority, but that's fair. It's not everyone's not going to like the same thing. That's fair.
And as we all know, being in the minority doesn't make you less right.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, it doesn't make you more right either, but just
that's fair too. Some of these comments. By the way, King Levy says The Boys is way better than all these shows. I don't know if I'd say it's better than.
I would agree with that. I think
love
the Boys is art in a lot of ways. It also is sort of indulgent and stupid, but it can be two things. The comics are quite good if you haven't read those, although they're even more extreme. They make the show look like a light jog through what they're doing.
That's what I've heard. Yeah. All right, couple super chats to get to real quick. Mr. Cerebral Paul in the house, $5 super chat. I'm choosing to be here instead of watching Stranger Things finale. Lucky you.
You can just savor it later. No worries, Cerebral Paul.
Yeah, savor it, man. Cheers, Paul.
Could you not savor this show later? You think it's got a pretty bad half-life? Episodes of Bitcast. What do you think?
Oh no, I think I'm always great on stream or in any medium.
Timeless content, you'd say?
I'm evergreen. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Gecko Gamer back in the house with the €5 super chat. Good morning or afternoon for you, sir. I have Disney Plus and I'm trying to watch MCU movies, but no dice. Any tips on where to get started, or am I better off with something else?
That's a lot of content.
MCU movies, Iron Man.
Yeah,
you started Iron Man.
There you
Iron
go.
Man is Did Incredible Hulk come first? Technically,
is that technically
Iron Man
is first?
I think Iron Man started the MCU. Obviously,
I think it did, but I think Incredible Hulk might have actually come out first. Did it not?
Okay. Oh, Hulk! Oh, really? It came
Hulk
out before
6 months after Iron Man.
Okay,
got it. It was just made by a different studio and then later added to the MCU.
No, the Incredible Hulk was made by Marvel but worked with I believe it's Universal because they held the Hulk license on that one.
Got it.
Distributed through Universal. Iron Man is distributed through Fox. This is all before Marvel was purchased by Disney. So then Disney purchases Marvel a couple years into the MCU. But Iron Man's the first movie. They're worked on simultaneously with two different teams within Marvel Studios when they're starting Marvel Studios. Incredible Hulk has a few more issues with their scripts and whatnot.
Yeah, dude, that movie is
second.
They
come out second.
Rough. Okay, yeah, so, Iron Man is technically where we're supposed to start. I think it's probably a hard movie to watch now. I know it starts.
Mr. Rodriguez in the house. Good morning. He said they have a curated list on Disney Plus in chronological order.
Do they have it in release order?
Release though. Yeah.
You really need a release order more than you don't want to start chronologically.
Yeah, because chronologically you'd start with Captain America, right? Because that takes place during.
So. Well, you might start with the Eternals, depending on how you're
Eternals. Yeah, I know Iron Man starts off with like I watched that movie kind of recently. It starts off with like an unironic reference to MySpace. It's aged. It is an aged movie. That's all I'd say.
I would say that I'm like Travis here, and that I don't care about the MCU at all, so I can't help you.
There you go.
Yeah,
14 years is still pretty long, though.
The MCU is amazing, like what they accomplished as a whole. I will credit that. I just don't care for the movies, but I know I'm
in chat. I would never say I'm always right. I said I was always great. I would never claim to always rightness. That's not me.
By the way, don't worry. After he said the RE6 is greater than Village, the next week when Hoeg wasn't here, we corrected that for him. So we spoke for him. He gave us full rights.
That's fine. Right. Yeah, he changed his mind while he was in absentia. But yeah, no, I would agree with that statement, Hoeg. You're rarely right, but you're always great. It's always great to have you and hear you talk.
I'm just polluted by all that passive entertainment we watch here in the Midwest. I'm afraid, Travis.
Mrs. Hoeglow says he's been wrong at least twice. She's got you,
but not while marrying you, right?
Oh.
That was not a wrong
Why are you
choice.
kissing ass on my wife, man? What are you
because
doing?
She's cool, okay? I followed her on Twitter. I stalked her. I saw her post. I was like, this is the most wholesome lady who's ever existed, and I need to protect her. Okay?
I see.
Mind your own business, Hoeg. Who cares?
All right. All right.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, the Stranger Things 4 conversation took us on a tangent. What else have you guys been playing? Anything good?
I'm 100 hours into a JRPG.
You're up to 100 hours on Tales 3?
Something. Yeah, no, you already announced.
Xenoblade 3, I mean, not Tales.
Xenoblade Chronicles 3, baby. I'm maybe halfway through it. Who knows? Who knows with these games? I really don't. So I put a lot of time into it.
An astute observer of the human condition might suggest that some of Travis's statements about wasting his time could reflect other experiences that he's having simultaneous to Stranger Things 4 release. But we won't make those observations because that sounds dangerously close to assuming something about a review he can't talk
about. One of those activities is earning me money, sir. So it is not wasted time either way. That's what I keep telling myself. No, but here's the thing about reviewing a game that's this long is even if you're enjoying the game, playing it all at once in the time frame that you'd have to do it to write a review is pretty brutal. But if you want my opinion on it, I can give it to you on July 7, I think, is when my preview goes up of the first 2 chapters of the game, which is about 12, 15 hours of content. And then my full review July 19. But yeah, dude, I'm fully into that. I've also been playing some Naraka. I've been playing a little bit of Destiny, Fall Guys. I'm trying to diversify my portfolio while I go through this JRPG, but realistically, most of my time has to go into playing that. So,
well, I don't know if we want to segue just yet, but I will say that I just recently started a new character and a new run on Elden Ring to give it another shot. I know.
Whoa. All right. Well, we should save that for Game of the Year discussion since I'm sure that's going to come up. But yeah, I also I previewed a game called Endless Dungeon. Did we talk about that last week?
You did.
Sure about
that. Yes.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
Did anyone touch Overwatch 2 yet? Or I say anyone. Did either of you two touch Overwatch?
You have to pre-order it, right?
You have to give money.
You do have to give them money, of course. You do. Come on.
I don't pre-order anymore because you never know when I'll be reviewing something, and I've bought things in the past that I reviewed, and I was so mad at myself.
Fair
for that.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I haven't touched it. Eric's in the chat, Game Positive. I know he's been playing it. So if anyone in the chat or comments wants to let us know how Overwatch 2 is faring so far, please do. Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Fall Guys as well. Played a few hours last night. Game is hilarious. It's just good fun. Just.
Can you help me out here? I was going to ask you last week. So Fall Guys is all over my timeline. People are talking about it a lot. It's an older game. What happened that made it pop into everybody's like zeitgeist here?
Crossplay.
So it went free to play. So it launched on the Switch and Xbox, and doing so, added crossplay across all platforms. So suddenly,
it had a launch for non-PlayStation.
Yeah, it was PlayStation PC, and basically now it's on everything, and you can play with everyone. So it just
and you can play it mobily on your Switch, which is what got me. It's like a great like pocket game where you got like 5 minutes and you just want to run around. You can just pop up your Switch and just play it.
And
I enjoyed it when I played. I mean, and it was free to play for me from the outset because it spent 2 months on the PlayStation Plus grab game.
Yeah.
To start, I think it's life. So I didn't know what had changed. Because I'm like, okay, I like Fall Guys, but why is it all over the place right now?
Yeah,
crossplay cool.
And they broke 20 million players in like a week in doing
Epic
that.
knows what it's doing.
Go figure. Yeah, go figure. So that's been a lot of fun. And Halo, I'm back on Halo like every damn day.
It's funny, I just deleted Halo to put Elden Ring back on my Xbox.
That's probably the one. That's the one game I probably would not criticize you for doing that for. But yeah, I'm back in playing ranked and just wanting to compete again. There's a big tournament in EU this weekend that's happening, and nice. Good stuff.
Nice.
So
and
I got my tickets to the Halo World Championship in Seattle in October this week too.
Hoeg, I didn't know you were playing Elden Ring on Xbox because that is a game that doesn't have crossplay and badly needs it. But I also played that game on Xbox. So
so did I.
If you wanted to.
All right. I will keep you all in mind. I see especially Travis, it might be because I don't have your profile in. I see Travis flitting in from time to time when I'm over there, coming on and off the Xbox. So
yeah.
I have the dashboard open most days.
It's why I don't pay any attention to it because my brother ostensibly is like always on both his Xbox and Steam.
Yeah,
it's like how he operates.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you do get to a point where you need help, hit us up. We'll do a Bitcast Elden Ring run and just steamroll everything.
I'm just remembering the buttons and what the heck a finger does and all that stuff. So we'll get back into it.
Fair enough.
I already feel like I forgot all that. The game feels like I played it like 4 years ago. I need to try it again.
Yeah,
I was gonna get all the achievements.
I might be wrong on this, but I was playing it and I was like, I think they added some tutorial screens. For areas of like specific confusion that I didn't remember, at least from playing to begin with, like how to get your map upgraded. I didn't remember as an initial tooltip screen. I think they were more specific. I think there was a language change for the waypoints sending you to the next waypoint if you just want to do that. I think they highlighted that.
Yes, they did.
They did highlight that. Yeah, they also labeled everything, which I
there's now like it shows you the people that are at like the various. So there were like these little things. I was like, I feel like it was more obtuse when I was last here.
It was. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, a little quality.
The naming of NPCs was probably the best change they ever made because that's like the most frustrating part of Elden Ring is trying to figure out where NPCs are so you can complete a quest.
Where did I leave them?
Well, I marked them on my map every time I met them. So you have those.
And I was ready to. I see that time. This time
they go to different places. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but they move. They do that in every From game. You know that.
I know, and that's one of the parts I'm glad that they changed.
Although Elden Ring is much bigger, so it's much easier to lose them. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went in and I had a bunch of markers on top of the icons they had put there now. So I had to get rid of all my markers because now they're just marked themselves, which is cool. They show you all the merchants too, which is cool.
I thought they worked on their tooltip screens. I think there's an extra couple, and I think they've changed the language.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, a little quality of life stuff. So we'll just keep talking about Elden Ring then. So let's jump over to kind of our main topic today, which is the Game of the Year race for 2022. And I know that immediately when I even mentioned this on Twitter, everyone's like Elden Ring, and I'm pretty much on the same camp, of course, because I think we've talked about how much I love it and how. Obviously, I mean, not just me, right? How highly it's critically rated and how many people play it. But let's not also overshadow that there's been a lot of cool games this year and some very big games still to come. So I wanted to talk about what's released so far because there's quite a few of these that I haven't played, and I know that I'm sure you guys have touched at least a few of them, right? So when I don't
know what you're looking at, Ains, but I believe we probably have.
I think I've played all of these.
It's in the list I sent you this morning.
Oh crap! Look at that background homework. Okay, hang on. I'm on it.
I have in fact played all of these, which is great. I haven't finished all of them though.
So I'm gonna run down a list just to kind of jog memories of people listening or watching with us here of the games that have released this year that are kind of what are considered the highest critically rated, and this is between OpenCritic and Metacritic, of course. Elden Ring, yes, is far and away the number one highest rated game. It's not even close. But once you get past Elden Ring, you did have Rogue Legacy 2, which I reviewed actually. Amazing game. That's sitting at a 90. Generally speaking, then you have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Shredder's Revenge, which is another awesome game, 89. Game called Neon White, which is getting a lot of praise. I see a lot of people talking about that game. 89. You got AI.
Great. I just like game called. It's like, wait, no, it's a real game.
Yes, yeah. And then you've got this, which is AI. The Somnium. Is it Somnium Files?
Somnium Files.
Yeah, Nirvana.
Wait, did they keep Somnium Files as part of the name of Nirvana Initiative? Did they just slap a subheading on the existing subheading?
They did.
I love these guys. I love them.
That's an 88. You've got Sentinels, Aegis Rim, 88. Gran Turismo 7, got an 87. Destiny 2, Witch Queen, I had already forgotten about. I'm sure Travis hadn't. 87.
I kind of forgot it came out this year, to be honest. It was so long ago.
Just to be clear, that's 13 Sentinels. There's 13 of them. It's not just
Sentinels. Yeah, it is 13. I was going to thank you. Yeah,
okay. That's how it was listed on Metacritic.
There you go. 13 Sentinels was one of my games of the year when it launched on something that wasn't the Switch. So I don't know if that one counts for this year.
I was going to say that too. There's a few of these where actually the Somnium Files is a new game.
Somnium is brand new. That's AI too.
Yeah. And then a few others in there too. You got Citizen Sleeper, you got Triangle Strategy, you have Kirby, Tunic, and I've also seen a few people mention Nobody Saves the World.
Yep, I have it on my list right here next to your screen that you don't see because it's on my computer.
There you go. So what are these games?
Did Hoeg just stop to explain how computers work?
How my computer works. Yes. I'm looking at a screen. It's completely secret.
I don't know, Travis. We had to explain why we'd want to hook a Steam Deck up to a TV. So I mean,
still don't really fully get it, but yeah, I get that not everybody has a PC gaming setup in their living room like I do, which is that is.
Steam Deck, I will tell you this, Travis. The Steam Deck is straight up stronger than my current gaming PC.
Really?
Straight up.
Oh wow! What are you running? Do you mind if I
something less than the Steam Deck?
We're outside my bailiwick here, but it's only 6 years old. And hasn't been touched or tweaked.
Only 6 years.
Only 6. You think 6 years was that's modern times, but you say that to a PC person and like, good God, can you run Windows?
Yeah, for PC, it's that's pretty old. Like 6 months, I start getting crap for my my current rate.
No, okay, maybe you understand better now when it's like, oh, the Steam Deck runs all of my stuff better right now.
So that makes way more sense. I was just thinking like, why would he hook the weakest possible device up to his TV? But that makes sense, yeah, if it runs it better.
The Switch is clearly weaker than the Steam Deck.
Oh, it is. Hey, Hoeg, you will get no argument from me. I am playing a 200-hour RPG right now.
The Switch makes me sad, honestly, because it's like, especially when you compare like games that I bought on both, because I bought a couple of like overlaps on the Steam sale. And it's like, oh, that's how that's supposed to perform. Like you take AI Somnium, the original one, the first one. The Switch like struggles with. It uses a lot of flashback cutscenes, so it'll like put up another scene in front of the scene it's currently rendering, and the Switch is like, "Whoa, that's 2 scenes, bro." So give me a second, and the Steam Deck's like, "Oh yeah, this is a visual novel. We can knock this out. Don't you worry." I was like, "Oh, that's how they're supposed to be." And then I think it's something like Three Hopes or Xenoblade Saga, these things that are like trapped on the Nintendo Switch, and I'm like, "Oh, I want to make it higher resolution. I want to give you some more frames, and you just can't. It's like, Nintendo, help me out.
Yeah, it's.
I mean,
well, we've ranted about that. It's frustrating.
I don't ever see Nintendo selling a $650 portable device. That's
the thing. They would need to do like a full-on boutique brand, and I don't know that they will.
No. Yeah, I don't think so.
You don't even need to do that to be better than the Switch, though. The Switch is tech from like 2010. Like, come on.
Yeah, but they also want to be the company that can sell you a console for $199, which
of course
Steam Deck cannot compete.
Or $299, which they still sell the Switch for, by the way, 6 years later.
Isn't the OLED $350?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is with OLED technology that is ancient.
I love the background. It's the OLEDs cost him like $3.99, and it popped at $50. It's like that's business, baby.
Yeah,
knocking it out, Nintendo.
Well, part of Nintendo's business model has always been making money on the hardware. They don't take that hardware loss like Xbox and PlayStation will do when they need to. But anyway,
I said I was ready to buy 3 Super Switches because I was ready to expand to the family because that's like the age group that my family is in. Yeah. But I'm not going to buy your OLED old Switch, and they missed that window.
And I bought it, guys.
Such nice.
Me too.
I bought it, and I will stand by that purchase. And here's why: the Switch OLED model has an Ethernet port. It is one of 2 Nintendo consoles that has ever had an Ethernet port.
To do what with?
It is extremely rare to play online games like Splatoon, my dude. Splatoon in September. It's going to be huge. All right. Ask Hoeg's kids if you don't believe me. It's going to be big.
You can't ask my kids. They're so.
I know every kid is super into Splatoon.
So it has technology that the original Xbox had in 2001. Got it.
Ains, you will not get an argument from me here. I am simply stating to you the facts as a reviewer who sometimes has to play online games on the Switch. Let me tell you that Ethernet port, 10 gigabytes a second. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Fair enough. By the way, on my list, I forgot Sifu released this year, and of course Horizon Forbidden West. I don't know. I swear I went down the list based on score, and I didn't see Horizon yet. Horizon,
you did just on score, right? Because I would throw in Arceus for conversation, Wonderlands.
I mean, obviously, I wasn't gonna take 50 games, right? So I just took the top 10 in the list, but I don't know how Horizon didn't list there because it's one of the top rated games of the year. So Horizon, Sifu, and yes, you feel free to add any other game that you
I'm going to fight pretty hard for Skywalker Saga, which is the first time I've ever said that sentence in my life.
Wow.
Okay.
It's true.
Yeah, Skywalker Saga is another big one that released this year. Which, by the way,
what's the Metacritic rating for that?
It's got to be like mid-80s.
I think it was low 80s. Let me check.
Really?
I'm guessing 84.
82.
All right.
Okay.
That is low 80s. That is way worse than I would have thought that game would rate. Because I like Hoeg. I quite like that game.
Yeah, I mean, 80. Well, as we always say, right? 82 is certainly not a bad score.
Anytime you're averaging an 8, you did a lot of good. But it's just the body politic had more negative reviews than I would have expected.
Yeah, and I think if you go back and look, right, like there was this debate when Elden Ring came out because if you go back and look at some prior years, especially several years ago, it feels at least anecdotally like it was easier to get above a 9, right? And we know there were this whole contract with studios to get their game to release. They would get incentivized if they scored above a 90 on Metacritic and things like that. And I don't know if it's because there used to be fewer kind of review sites. I don't know why, but if you look, it feels like there's a lower percentage of games releasing that get above a 9 or 90 on average on Metacritic today than there used to be several years ago. And I think that's another reason why Elden Ring is such a not a surprise, but something that just stands out is because getting a 96 in today's environment is like unheard of.
Yeah, no, it is wild. Yeah. That 96.
There's a lot more opinions out there.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so my vote here. So let's put Elden Ring aside. I think that we've talked about Elden Ring so much this year. Everyone's talked about it so much. Let's put that aside and talk about the other games that have released, and then we'll get to the games that are coming later this year. But I would definitely personally put Rogue Legacy 2 up there. I think when I reviewed it, I gave it a 9.5, and I said that it is, if it weren't for Elden Ring, which is going to be a qualifier I probably have to say too many times.
We can just say, all this discussion is in the non-Elden Ring division. Otherwise, we'll have to hear that phrase from Ains.
Yes, fair enough. That would be my game of the year. Rogue Legacy 1 was an incredible roguelite and came out several years ago now. 2 basically takes everything good about that, expands upon it. It's just a brilliant game top to bottom. There's no fat in that game. There's no issues with mechanics. It's designed incredibly well. You can play it in countless different ways and different styles, tons of unlockables and like length, to keep you playing that game. You can put easily 25, 30 hours just to beat it. And that's only the beginning, because there's so much after you technically beat the last boss. Just an incredible experience. So I would throw a hat in the ring for Rogue Legacy 2 personally.
I like Rogue Legacy 2. I'm not sure it did enough. I don't have them sitting next to each other to differentiate it from Rogue Legacy 1. It felt like the same experience to me, give or take. I really like the art style improvement. But it's Rogue Legacy again to me.
Okay.
They added class systems, which is kind of cool. But yeah, you're largely right, Hoeg.
It changed quite a bit. If you play them back to back, there's a lot more
For
to
sure.
it. I mean, it's definitely a sequel, right? It's definitely
Like
the same
playing a remaster, right? It played like I remembered. Is that accurate? Probably not.
Yeah.
It's pretty different, but yeah, I agree with both of you somehow. But it is both it is both very different and also very much the same.
I like it. I really like it. It's not the kind of game that I would put at the top of my list, realistically, because it's kind of a trifle to me. But
okay.
That's
all right.
To me,
my
enough. Problem with that game, Ains, my criticism, if I was Mitch reviewing this game, would be that which I never will be, is that I'll keep reviewing the other games. Is that it is grindy. It makes you really grind, and every time you buy a perk, it increases the prices of all the other perks, and it's like a
roguelite.
They set up some, but not all roguelites do it that way, where they set up like kind of arbitrary barriers where it's like, well, you're not possibly going to be able to beat this part unless you level up enough of your stuff. And I mean, that's my main problem with it.
Well, I would say if I'm playing a class-based 2D indie game, I'm picking Nobody Saves the World over Rogue Legacy 2. Like that's where I wind up on that. In terms of just putting them directly against each other, I'm picking Nobody Saves the World. And it sounds like, Ains, maybe you didn't play that?
I played it a little. You know, the weird thing about Nobody Saves the World is I was incredibly excited for it. Drinkbox Studios, really talented developer. I got, like, when I first saw that game, when they first debuted it, I was pumped. Then they had the demo, remember, that came out. Played the demo, loved it. And then the game released, and it was on Game Pass, if I recall correctly.
It is.
It was.
And I put like an hour into it and then moved on. I don't know if it's Elden Ring. I don't know if it was
Elden Ring
Halo.
right around when it released.
Yeah, and I think I never went back to it. I still have it installed. I just haven't played it much. So I need to play it. Yeah, I need to play it more.
It's a good game. I would probably pick Rogue Legacy over Nobody Saves the World, but by a hair. To me, they're both like really high quality games doing the things that they do well. I love that Rogue Legacy 2, Rogue Legacy 1 was the first roguelite, for those who don't know, which is its claim to fame. But Rogue Legacy 2 kind of almost perfects the genre it created, which I really think is dope.
The notion is Rogue Legacy 1 is the first one to allow meta progression?
Yeah.
Oh,
before that, it
really
was
had no idea.
Yeah, before that, it was just all roguelikes where they would just expect you to get better, and then they were like, well, we'll create a way for anybody to finish the game, presumably.
Permanent upgrades,
Which is great. But Nobody Saves the World, I think, when we're talking about Game of the Year discussions, for me, and I've described this to you guys before, I look for the game that changes the industry the most, pushes us forward, does something different and new. That's my kind of bar for Game of the Year. I don't think Rogue Legacy 2 does that, just because so many other games have taken the roguelite genre since Rogue Legacy 1 and done a really, really good job with it. I just think Rogue Legacy 2 proves that they could also do it, right? They're like, hey, we can also be really good at doing this thing that we made. Whereas Nobody Saves the World does something that is more unique, which I really like. Although, looking at this list, aside from the notable exception of Elden Ring, I don't know that we have seen a game this year that meets my bar super, super high of like doing something that I've never seen before. And that makes me kind of like go, wow, that is like, to me, a Game of the Year kind of breakthrough moment is what I'm looking for.
Can you help me understand this, Travis? Like, what would your Game of the Year last year have been on that parameter?
I was actually thinking about that because I thought you were going to ask me, and I cannot remember what it was, but I remember what it was in 2020, which was Half-Life Alyx, and I've talked about that a million times about how that's like to me it was like a next level. It was like, dude, this is the bar to going forward for all VR games. And I wish I could remember what it was last year.
I just don't know. Like, you know, I could just, the top of my list is Guardians, Returnal, Forgotten City, Dread, Horizon 5, Tales of Arise, Wildermyth.
Forgotten City would probably be on my list somewhere up there. I can't remember what my.
Yeah, I'm just pulling them out. I'm just curious. I think it's a very interesting way to look at things because I know that like Guardians is my game of the year. You wouldn't give it to Guardians because it's a pretty standard approach to doing it.
I would not. Yeah, you're correct. I would be much more likely to give it to Forgotten City because that's a game where when you play it, you're like, dude, I've never seen anything like this. This is so cool.
What about
you almost want a genre to emerge from that game? You know what I mean? Because
so if we're looking at last year and in that vein, because I just pulled it up as well. So you got Psychonauts 2. The highest rated game was Forza Horizon 5, but you did have in your criteria, you did have Returnal as well.
Yeah, Returnal.
Returnal will probably be up there somewhere on there.
I think people are going to take what Wildermyth has done and make some really cool things. I love Wildermyth to death.
Yeah.
It Takes Two. Good call out, Eric. That was a big one. So
that was a big one. And that was also something like I'd never played before. Well, I mean, you'd played the other games made by that company, but none of them were as polished or like well put together as that one.
So in that vein, let me ask you then to kind of add on to Hoeg's question, right? If that's your criteria, which I generally agree with, by the way, I think it's nice to see developers kind of push the bar and make us think a little differently than we're used to. But what about a game? And this isn't because of Rogue Legacy 2, but we're kind of jumping ahead a bit. But let's say God of War Ragnarok comes out this year, which they've confirmed it is, right?
It will be very hard for Ragnarok to win my game of the year based on
that was what I was going to ask you, because even if we all expect it to be incredible, we all expect it to be more of 2018 but better, the typical sequel stuff. We'll see.
I do expect. No, Ains said it right. I do expect it to be more
incredible, and you're like, do we?
Well, I do expect it to be more 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
see, that's what I expect.
But how do they push that bar, right? Like, how do they separate itself from 2018 and recapture the fire, if you will, of what they did in 2018? I don't know if they can.
It's very funny because I'm not on Travis's side on this, right? I actually love that. I love people moving the industry forward on that. In general, I find that the things that are novel and interesting and move that industry forward and create those genres are semi-broken. You haven't polished everything already because your thing is novel. It is a human creation. And in general, I prefer the second iteration. Like that's your game of the year. That's your polished diamond. It's Assassin's Creed 2 versus Assassin's Creed 1. So I like that. I think that's necessary. That's not my personal game of the year. Mine is the polished version of what has come.
Yeah. So I'm not suggesting that like the unpolished games get my game of the year. They also have to be polished, but a lot of times it's not until like the second game that a genre gets perfected, right? And so
exactly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the second game would win my game of the year because it did something new correctly for the first time. You know what I mean? Like that's why it's Half-Life Alyx, is because other people have tried to do shooters and exploration games in VR, but none of them have mastered it. And so then you're like, oh, that's actually possible. Like you can get to that level on that new idea, which I think is great. Sometimes you get it right your first try. BioShock, that would probably be one of my game of the years.
BioShock is System Shock 2, though. I mean, like that's a clear lineage to get you to BioShock.
Well, that's true.
True. But I would argue that BioShock did it right first.
Yes.
And,
no, wait, hold on.
I'm not a huge System Shock fan.
System Shock 2 is a seminal work in the history of video games, and will not let you talk bad about it.
All
BioShock, also seminal work. Awesome. Clear evolution from System Shock 2.
But it does have clear evolution, but I think you will admit System Shock 2 is a little jank in areas, and BioShock kind of perfected that formula.
System Shock 1 is a little jank in various areas. System Shock
You don't think 2 is a little jank? It's a little jank.
This is your lack of seasoning, right? Because System Shock 2 at the time that it releases is polished as all hell.
Okay.
I like the lack of seasoning comment. That's perfect.
You do have to frame these things in their historical context.
Of course.
Yeah, 100%.
System Shock 2 was fabulous and polished when it came out. It had Bethesda-type bugs, but we're not killing Skyrim or things for those.
All right, I'm not going to touch that.
I saw Travis's face.
I'll just say if it has Bethesda type bugs, I don't know that it's polished, but whatever. I get it. I know people. That's a holy cow, a sacred cow. Maybe we'll include it in W3.
I don't have a poster of Shodan. You leave me alone.
Okay.
Let me get these super chats. I've been sitting real quick. So we've got Eric in the house, Mr. Game Positive, Canadian super chat for $6.99. What are your game of the year runner-ups? That's pretty much what we're talking about. Since obviously Elden Ring is game of the year without any question or argument. Yeah.
Well,
so
not any good ones.
Don't say it in front of somebody who has questions or arguments.
Well,
So
look, Elden Ring isn't
thank you,
entirely
Eric.
my ball of wax. It isn't my cup of tea necessarily. But even then, going into it again, it's like, oh yeah, I mean, like this is obviously a cut above most games.
It's kind of funny, like we were talking about Stranger Things, Hoeg. It's like compared to other shows, right? It's like I go back and I play Elden Ring. I'm like, oh, right, that's why this is special. I got it now. You know,
it is kind of the same experience in terms of like watching the first 10 minutes of part 2, where you're like, okay, yes, they're doing something at a higher level. And Elden Ring is exactly the same. You go in, I played an hour and a half last night or something like. Right. They're doing something at a higher level.
It's different, yeah.
But to go back to your question about Ragnarok, the way Ragnarok could win my game of the year is if it does something that sort of breaks past what I'm expecting it to be, right? If it does something that it doesn't just feel like a sequel to 2018, and that's not impossible just because it's a single player story-based game that I think I know I've already played, because sometimes you get surprises, man. Let's never forget Spec Ops: The Line. That's like a game that, you know, I thought I knew what I was getting, and I just did not. It kind of just completely surprised me. So there's always
that's all in the writing, because Spec Ops plays like garbage. I mean, like that's an interesting game.
True, it is an interesting game, but yeah, obviously that example isn't my game of the year.
No, not the game of the year, but I like that. To me, if we just had the division of third person over the shoulder Sony made action adventures, I would have a hard time imagining a Ragnarok that beats Horizon Forbidden West for me. I mean, you'd have to, you know, obviously that's a specific division. You're comparing these things that Sony makes. But Horizon did that Sony formula very, very well this year. And I don't anticipate Ragnarok beating it on those grounds.
Interesting.
We will see. Yeah, they are free to surprise us. I would be happy.
Of course.
But I tend to agree with Hoeg on this one. Like, I just don't see it.
Can I make a prediction here that probably won't be right, of course, but I want to be the first to say it. I think that Ragnarok will contain a PSVR 2 element.
You mean like, I think there'll be they have like whatever they're calling their Journey to the Mountain. I think there'll be one of those. I don't think it'll be within God of War 2.
Yeah, I think that they're going to add some sort of interactive Kratos thing as part of God of War Ragnarok for PSVR 2. May not be there at launch if it launches this fall, but I think that'll come in time.
You can wash Kratos in PSVR. They put him in a tub.
Put him in a tub. Let me get these other super chats. Gecko Gamer says, Hoeg, and this is a little late. Sorry about that, Gecko. €5 super chat. Oh, could you explain how a computer works legally?
Oh, sure. I can explain technology like all lawyers do. You hit the button and the thing turns on, and then these keys put other characters on your screen. And then sometimes they get sent across the air to various other of these kinds of units. And that's how the magic works, man.
It's like sky paper.
You're ready for Congress.
Yeah.
No, in truth, you don't generally want to go for your technology, your math, or your engineering directly to the lawyers. But computers are cool. I still look at my TV on the wall and be like, so how does that work? or even like Netflix, it's like buffering. Like we really had a breakthrough at some point, like 15 years ago. And like you could just hit the button and the movie pops in.
Yeah. It sends.
But I like feeling that way. I like feeling like, actually we don't have flying cars. But if you really think about it over the last 20, 30 years, we jettisoned up pretty good on some of the
did.
Oh, 100%. We sure did.
We didn't get the flying cars, but we got just about everything else.
You throw down a FaceTime post while you're otherwise communicating on your podcast direct from your microphone while watching a thing stream to you. It's all good.
Yeah, we're literally sitting here talking with each other from across the country while we're also interacting. No, we've never
met. I feel like I know you guys super well, and we've never met. It's kind of crazy.
And we're interacting with people in chat from all around the world. It's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome.
Sometimes I forget how just like embroidered in tech I am, because I had a housemate move in recently, and he was looking at my TV, and he was like, your TV is like a piece of glass. Like that's it. Because it's like one of those super ultra thin ones. And I was just like, yeah. He was like, what the? It's so thin. Yeah.
I still turn on my phone sometimes and be like, this is straight up tricorder. Like it's the stuff that you can just pull in. Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that feeling though. I love, better living through technology. That's the kind of guy I am.
No doubt. Fat Boy Horror in the house with the £5 super chat. At least you didn't buy a Switch OLED for one game only. Yes.
What game
Fat
would
Boy,
that have been, Red?
he bought a Switch this week simply because he wanted to replay Phantasy Star 1, and they have the Sega Ages.
Sega Ages Phantasy Star 1 is a great one of the Ages products. So good.
Yes, it is.
Wow.
Enjoy.
Can I justify my OLED purchase real quick? I feel like I need to.
You said
not if you're going to talk about the stand again.
I'm not.
Is it the stand and the Ethernet port?
I mean, those things were both nice, and the reasons I tell myself I bought the Switch, but the real reason I bought the Switch OLED is because I reviewed a game called Cooking Mama Cookstar.
The one that got pulled?
That's right. You did tell us about that.
And for those of you who don't know, if you play that game on your Switch, it will brick your Switch. It has a piece of basically malware attached to it. It was designed to mine crypto, but they never actually implemented it. But the software is still on the game. So when you install the game, it puts like this piece of malware on your Switch that uses 100% of its processing power. So if you're not playing a game, it will just use all of it for whatever the software is. And if you're playing a game, it'll use whatever's left for this. And so anytime you hold the Switch, it sounds like a jet's taking off in your hands. It's just like just using every inch of its processing power 100% of the time. And my Switch was basically unplayable at that time. So then it was like 6 months later, the OLED model got announced. And I was like, dude, I got to get off of this damn Cooking Mama. They cooked my Switch. The mama herself cooked my Switch. So
how does that make it through Nintendo's quality check? Like,
it didn't. That's okay. So very importantly, it didn't.
Well, then how to get on the store?
The publisher said, this isn't ready. Go back and fix it. And the developer said no. And then they published it anyway. And then it was on the online store for like a day. And then Nintendo took it down. And so now you can only play it physically. And so when I reviewed it, the developer sent us a physical copy of the game because they didn't have the rights to distribute it digitally at that time.
Yeah, so I'm backing up to where.
Yes, VL206. VL206 is Cooking Mama's Legal Saga. Check it out on Hoeg Law.
Maybe I'm getting too technical here, right? But Nintendo shouldn't give publishing rights to a developer, right? Like to hit a button to go live on their store. Nintendo should be the one doing that.
Correct. So I believe, I don't know if the Cooking Mama developer is owned by Nintendo, but they outsourced the game to a different developer and the publisher didn't approve it, but whoever put it on the store didn't know that. So it was on the store for a very brief period of time. But you basically have to buy that game physically because it's so it's like an illegal game. It's a rogue video game. It's kind of crazy.
It's pretty cool. It's probably worth money.
In addition to reading about it from Hoeg,
games.
Yeah, you should absolutely watch the episode of Hoeg. I have not seen it, but I'm sure it's hilarious because that whole saga is ridiculous. And then after you're done watching that, you can come and watch my review on IGN because it's also pretty hilarious. Unfortunately, before I was doing my own VO, so I think Brian Altano or somebody reads my review, but it's still pretty entertaining.
Cool. All right. Luke with the $2 super chat. Much love to the Bitcast. Thank you, Mr. Luke, over at Xbox Expansion Pass. Thank you, brother. And then this one's going to like, Hoeg's going to like this one. Eric back with a $2.79 Canadian super chat. Want a new excellent experience? Play Card Shark.
I recommended that here, didn't I?
I bought it. Yeah. You recommended it here. I bought it on my Steam Deck. I need to.
I have not played it. I didn't like the trailer for it, but you guys have me intrigued.
I'm not sure it's going to swing around if you really hated the trailer for it. But good luck.
Never judge a game by its trailer, I always say.
There you go.
I mean, look, it's
actually not true at all. You can absolutely judge a game by its trailer, unless it's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Combination of mini games, cheating at cards, and the French Revolution. I know it's been done before in the game space, but otherwise you're going to love it.
Oh, man.
I love that.
All right. That's too funny. All right. Where were we here? So, coming out the rest of the year.
I believe Hoeg was just about to make a argument for the Lego game. I think that's what.
Oh yeah, I'll argue for Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga. I mean, Game of the Year has so many different components, right? But one of them is how much you enjoyed it, the experience, the fun you had playing with it, whatever it did for you in that given year. And there's two games that jump out. One of which that I guess both kind of don't necessarily do much that's new, but really worked for my situation or what was put out there. And that's Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga and Nintendo Switch Sports. And I know Wii Sports was, an absolute zeitgeist type thing, appears in TV and movies throughout that period when it happens. Nintendo Switch Sports is the refinement of that concept. It actually has online that mostly works for Nintendo. It's well thought out. It has a live services kind of component that brings you coming back, and it's a lot of fun. And I've had a ton of fun with my family playing that. I don't love that Nintendo releases these games kind of halfway when they release them, so that they have like new sports and things coming out. They'll say in the summer and whatnot. I don't like that quote unquote live services model. It always feels like you released an unfinished game to me, and then you're like finishing it later on. And we saw this with Mario Golf. I think there might be some with Mario Strikers. I don't know if they're planning stuff later on for that or not. But it's a great game. It's a lot of fun, and I recommend it to everybody who's interested in just bowling and playing tennis and badminton and hitting people with swords and things like that. The Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga is like the pinnacle culmination of Lego games as they've existed before now. And I know people like Dan, who, while ostensibly on vacation, are otherwise trolling the chat as we speak.
Yes, he did say that 82 was too high of a rating for it.
Don't like it very much. But especially if you're a Star Wars fan, or even a fan of some of Star Wars, because it's broadened out considerably since I was a kid. You're going to get just great value for your experience. It has a completely different engine, and it is everything that kind of family-friendly, story-based kind of game should be. So you get all of the Star Wars movies. That makes sense. That's what you've gotten in prior Lego games. And then you get to go to all the planets that you otherwise visited. And they're all set up like this, the old Toys to Life game, Lego Dimensions, who maybe I'm the only one that remembers on the planet Earth. But that they have these areas where you have all these quests, you have all these things to grow. And much like an MMO or an RPG of a different kind, you have all these little interlocking economies to go and improve yourself and buy another ship that leads to another location that can have these two interact if you have played through this movie. And it's got, 750 Lego characters, including some that are completely untenable to actually play the game with, that don't have any attacks and can't move and that kind of thing. It is a celebration of Star Wars. It is a celebration of Lego. And if you have a humorous bone in your body, unlike Dan, I think you're going to have a great time with it.
He doesn't even have the humorous.
It's
one of the bones in the body.
We got it, Travis. We're going to move on.
I like it.
We're going to move on.
Hey, unintentional puns are the best kind of puns.
I'm dressed like a used car salesman. I got the jokes. It's all good. Yeah.
So I absolutely adore it. And it's probably the most consistent experience that I've had. You turn that on, you're going to have fun for an hour. And I think there's a certain level of importance to that. Other games, I don't know what I'm going to get when I play Forbidden West for that hour. I don't know what I'm going to get when I play Elden Ring for that hour. You're going to get a highly polished experience. You may be very frustrated when it's over. That's not going to happen with Lego Skywalker Saga. And there's value in that to me. So they did advance their own kind of rut that they were stuck in. They were putting out too many games too fast, and you just felt that you knew what you're getting when you buy a Lego game. I don't think that you have that same experience with Skywalker Saga, and I think it's on sale right now in the Steam sale. I think it's in sale in various places. People should check it out.
Cool. And by the way, Dan is here for you.
It's just wrong.
He's still
it's
hanging
just
out.
Wrong. Like even if you didn't, I just have so many problems with that argument. This is like TT Games has been around for a while. They haven't always made great games, like most games that start out as studios that are doing like a licensed work. But they have earned their bona fides, and I think that the Skywalker Saga is their magnum opus in terms of just like fun kid games that actually do the thing well, that can appeal to a broad audience, that have amazing replayability. I think Hoeg said it very, very well about it. Just, you can turn that game on and you're going to have a good time. And there's a lot to do. And it's also just happens to be a love letter to all of Star Wars, which if you're like me and you enjoy all of Star Wars, it is a fantastic experience. So I don't know that it'll be my game of the year, but I think that there's nothing wrong with somebody who says that it is. And there's certainly a lot to point to that I would be like, yeah, that game kicks ass. So,
well, I'm not just devil's advocating here. It might wind up being of my game of the year as it stands right now.
Good.
Cool.
Yeah. No, I 100% could see it in a world where, maybe Elden Ring didn't come out for me. I could 100% see Rise of Skywalker.
I quite enjoy Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Is it maybe this is just anecdotal. Maybe it's just me, and I know it's highly rated, and a lot of people love it. So this may be a stupid statement before it even comes out of my mouth, but it feels like
disclaimer.
No, we're halfway through the year. We had a gigantic, long-term, big budget release out of Sony first party and Horizon Forbidden West that not everyone, but many people like myself were anticipating, and I know a lot of people love it. But you have this game of the year conversation, at least in the circles I've had on Twitter and around, doesn't seem to get talked about a lot. Is that weird?
I enjoy Horizon more than Elden Ring, and Horizon is a very top level game for me. It will be on my top 10 list. The problem I have is when you're talking about Elden Ring, and I'm basically conceding the ground on the critics and everything else, you talk about a third person game where you ride a horse and you attack things, and big monsters and little monsters, that they are too similar. I know they're very different games, but in terms of like just sitting next to each other, you're actually comparing them directly. So Elden Ring just beats Horizon, I think, in most people's eyes. So I'm not even having that fight for the most part. But I think that's why you are seeing that. It just kind of subsumes the Horizon conversation because you ride things, you traverse an open world. You fight monsters.
Is it wild? I know this was already an ongoing joke, but it is pretty wild that Horizon 1 released right next to Breath of the Wild and Horizon 2 released right next to Elden Ring, which despite my dislike for Breath of the Wild, there's no argument that Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring are two of the highest critically acclaimed games of all time.
Well, and Breath of the Wild as a design philosophy, it clearly informs Elden Ring and what they did with their From Software model.
Yeah, we've had that discussion.
I know, but it is clear. I mean, even going into it yesterday, it is obvious that they played Breath of the Wild and they like that. I'm not saying they copied it; it's informed by it.
It's probably
games don't exist in a vacuum.
Yeah, of course. So, but man, if you're that studio, right? If you're the head of Guerrilla, you're like, come on, man, let me catch a break here.
They'll get there, dude. I do think Horizon Forbidden West will win at Jeff's show this year. It'll win something. I don't know what it'll win, but that game is really good. I need to go and finish it. I still haven't finished it. So.
By the way,
when it gets officially nominated for something, then I'll have to finish it, as you guys know.
By the way, this is the comment of the day from Ash. The difference between Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring is that one is amazing and the other is Breath of the Wild. Well played, sir.
I mean, I don't. Maybe he's just indicating that it's higher than amazing. I mean, there's words.
Yeah.
Apply to Breath of the Wild.
Knowing Ash, he does not mean that, but yes, I do.
Well, unfortunately, we got a lawyer here who just found the loophole.
I just read this up and I go, well, you're right.
One is amazing and one is even better.
Genre defining, whatever you want.
Oh boy. So let's touch on. We got the list here in front of the games that kind of we know are coming. Hogwarts Legacy with a question mark. But we kind of touched on
one more. Yes, we can move on to stuff coming. I just want to put in one last good vote in terms of what I personally enjoyed, and that's Ghostwire Tokyo. That I thought was at least a somewhat novel take on what you're doing in a first-person shooter with a lot of really good background world building, real devotion to putting out Japanese ghost storytelling, spirituality, and that kind of thing. And I really enjoyed it. It's not much like my Rogue Legacy 2. It's not different enough, I think, to warrant special mention necessarily. But I had a great time with it, and I think it's a well-made game.
Yeah, I really enjoyed my time with it. To your point, I really like the dedication to Japanese culture and kind of history and mythology and stuff. I think that's really neat when you see a culture's mythology and kind of some things that you're almost learning as you're playing, which I love. I think that's really cool. I haven't finished it. I have heard it's quite repetitive, so I can't speak holistically about the entire experience, but I did really
I'll yield on that. It is. You first 5 hours you played it, and you're going to do that some more.
Okay. Yeah, I did enjoy my time with it though, for sure. And my buddy at Season Gaming, who's in Australia, they had a different steelbook in Australia than anywhere else in the world, and he sent me it. He sent me his Australian steelbook because he knows I collect them. Direct gaming, man. Elliot, he's a good dude. So we talked a little bit about God of War Ragnarok, and I tend to agree with Travis, which is I think most of us agree that we're going to get more of 2018 and what that looks like, which just makes sense. It's a direct sequel, right? But I do agree with you, Travis, that I feel like for that to have an impact for me on Game of the Year, it not only has to be kind of that experience that we got with 2018, but it has to at least do something markedly different, right? Or evolve in some sort of way. I don't know if we're going to get that. I think it's going to be really interesting to see. That's one of my biggest questions with that game is how do you evolve that model? Because no matter what anyone personally thinks of it, it is a beloved game. One of the highest rated of all time again. And there's anytime you're a developer making a follow-up to a game like that, you've got that line to walk of how do we retain the love over here while trying to evolve it here and not piss off, the people over here. So
I mean, I could tell you exactly what they need to do, but
you've got it figured out.
I do.
I want to hear Travis's pitch for God of War 2.
Yeah, tell Corey's listening. Tell him what he needs to do.
Corey's not in charge of this one. That's the interesting part about the creative move on God of War 2. I mean, there's a lot of interesting things that happen behind the scenes on this we could talk about, but yeah.
I thought Corey was directing it.
Corey's in charge of the studio. He is not directing God of War 2.
Okay, fair enough.
Interesting. I feel like Hoeg knows a lot of like studio politics.
He was having a drink with Corey last week, man.
No, this was the video at the Game Awards, right, where he announces that he's not directing God of War 2, and he talks to the director whose name escapes me. I mean, we can pull up that video, but that's
familiar.
That does sound familiar too. He's got a better memory than us, Travis. He gets paid for his memory. See, this is it.
Yeah, well, he makes videos about it. Yeah, so if I was making God of War 2, I would focus a lot of my attention on the things that you're doing in the game, like that's such a stupid statement.
I'm clipping that. That's perfect. I'm gonna put that out.
It sounds like you're stalling.
Sony Santa Monica. Focus on what the player does in the game.
Doing in the game. What I mean by that is the way that you spend your time. The way that you spend your time in God of War 2018. A lot of it is, I feel, trying to give padding to the different story beats and give room for the characters to share their dialogue. But the actual stuff you're doing while that's happening is very repetitive. We talked about last time this game came up, how you fight the same boss like 12 times and all that stuff. So I would just focus on making the actual journey have less padding. I get that they need a little bit of time and a little bit of quiet to share those moments where Kratos is having the conversations with his son and all that stuff. I 100% get that that's an intentional pacing thing, but I feel like they had that idea for what they wanted to do and focused less on the stuff that you were doing to pad that out, if that makes sense. It's just like, we want to tell the story. Our gameplay team has made X amount of gameplay, so let's just reuse that stuff and use it as sort of like just feed to kind of tell our story. And I feel like that was a big mistake, because then it makes the player has to sort of like push through some of the rough edges of repetitiveness and gameplay to get the story. And then the second part, which I think Hoeg will probably agree with me on, is that I think that they should this is easier said than done, but they do need to work on their storytelling just in terms of that pacing, because I don't think they nailed it with 2018. And I know I'm in the minority there. I know I'm in the minority.
Travis and I will make it sound like it's the official position. It's just a place where we agree upon. It's a MacGuffin chase, and there's that's fine for certain ways to tell a story, but it's literally you get to your MacGuffin, you find it's another MacGuffin to chase like 3 or 4 times in that game, and it winds up feeling like you're circling. I do agree that they do some good character beats, although I think even there in 2018, and I think people mention this one because it's so harsh, is they have a situation, which I'm not going to spoil, I guess, even though we're way outside the window, where Atreus has a major personality shift from information that he finds out, and it is harsh, it is immediate. The rest of the interactions are exactly like that. Anything they do with open world doesn't reflect any of that. And then it comes back to where you started as just as harshly as it began. Like they didn't figure out how to make a relationship status change interact with the quote unquote open world that they built. And that, I think that they knew that they hadn't figured that out. So it creates this kind of stasis for like all the other interactions that you have, where you basically have to play The Simpsons and things can't change too much or everything falls apart, which they went for in the one instance, and it falls apart pretty harshly. And people notice that. So hopefully, if there's going to be a big change in 2023's God of War, I'm going to put my stamp on that. Then it's going to be in working through some of the, just how we figured out how to make music shift between what's happening in tones, working better on that narrative shift if you're going to have any open world component. That's
exactly what I'm getting to. I just think the narrative storytelling and the actual game that they designed, there's a little bit of cognitive dissonance there. And if they could get those two to fit better and tell a story that matched with the game that they're made a little bit better. And that's why I say focus on the things you're doing in the game. Like, even though that's the dumbest thing you could possibly say, it makes sense in my head, because I'm just like, a lot of what I didn't really make sense for the game I was playing.
What you mean.
Yeah. And so I just think I think if they can nail that and manage to tell a story that fits with the game a little bit better, and the game is more compelling and more diverse and kind of the activities I'm doing, then maybe it's game of the year quality. It could be easily, because they succeed so well. What's that?
I would love to see that. I mean, and
Me
I
too,
think
because they nail everything else. They nail everything else. So, like, to me, God of War 2018 is an 8 out of 10. If they could nail a lot of those big items that I think that they didn't quite nail, it could be a 9. It could be a 10. I mean, sky's the limit. It's a super talented studio. So I would love to see them knock it out of the park.
I tend to agree with you, and I think I'm higher on Gears of War. I always say I picture GOW, and then my mind goes Gears of War. I know
exactly how your brain did that.
Yeah, I have literally lancers on the wall behind my monitor. That doesn't help, but I'm a little higher on God of War 2018 than you guys are, I think. But I'm not in that camp of it's the greatest game ever made. So I think, let me ask you this then, because I generally agree with what you're both saying, and it's funny that Gogol in the chat said Gears of War 2018 felt more like a Naughty Dog game than Sony Santa Monica.
You said Gears of War again.
You said Gears again.
Did I really? My mind is stuck on Gears of War.
You really are, dude. This guy.
So Hivebusters.
He likes his
What if I just reinstalled it this week. I'm sorry.
I think, okay, so Sony Santa Monica, you want to get Game of the Year from me personally? Here's how you do it.
You didn't even let me finish my point.
Wait, one sec, because I have to tell it now because it's a joke. You change your name from God of War Ragnarok to God of War Hivebusters just to screw with Ains forever.
Ains and down if the subheading were
Hivebusters. if it's God of War Hivebusters, you get my Game of the Year with no questions asked.
What's funny about that, Travis, is while it's unlikely that you'd call it God of War Hivebusters, because Ragnarok's such a generic Armageddon type, there's a possibility that there could be a Gears of War Ragnarok.
That is very true.
That is true. Stop it, by the way. Stop putting all those words in my head. We're going to need a new host soon.
Anyway, sorry for interrupting you. I had to tell the joke.
Yeah, Gogol in the chat said that God of War, I almost did it again. God of War felt more like a Naughty Dog game than a God of War game. And what I was going to say to what you guys were saying was making me think is, we've mentioned before how, and I think I mentioned last week actually, that the one thing that bothered me about the 2018 God of War is it had, not that this is a bad thing, I don't want to make this sound like a bad thing, but it had that Sony blueprint on it. It felt like it had to do X, Y, and Z as a game. And to your guys' point, a lot of what you did in that game didn't really tie to or fit what they were trying to do with the story.
So they tried to mold the Sony blueprint around a game that is very resistant to that sort of blueprint. Yeah, that's
exactly. And I think they succeeded in a number of ways, but I think that there's still fair criticisms of the game to be made because of that. And I think that Horizon Forbidden West, as we well know, kind of follows that blueprint. They expanded upon it, and I can't speak to the entire game. Hoeg, you're probably better speaking to it than me.
Forbidden West to me kicks Zero Dawn's butt in terms of what you're doing, in terms of the narrative that they've set up in the areas, the world that they've built. It is a wildly better approach to what they were aimed at. Again, this is why I'm very much like the Assassin's Creed 2s of the world. I feel like you get your legs under you, and this is why I'm enthusiastic about Ragnarok. Is, hey, you figure out what you did wrong and you improve upon it. But Forbidden West, I was not a big fan of Zero Dawn. Like, it's 7 out of 10, perfectly fine type video game. Didn't regret my time with it. Forbidden West is vastly better for a guy like me who likes world building and narrative, and then going from there. It's got character beats and world building and stuff that is essentially more of classic BioWare throughout it, and that's a big jump in quality for a guy like me. And if Ragnarok made a similar jump again for me, that would be very, very impressive.
That's what I'm hoping, right? I hope they can kind of break out of that mold a bit, which is what we're talking about. But I think it's fair to say that just from a critical reception standpoint, Ragnarok's probably the game that has the best chance, don't you think, of unseating Elden Ring?
100%.
Or challenging Elden Ring, I guess. Not unseating, nothing seated, but challenging.
I mean, it is currently
warming the throne. Yes.
It's currently seated as the highest rated game.
It is.
So, yeah,
by
it
far.
could be unseated.
Elden Ring's going to win. I don't think there's a debate about like what's going to win the most awards, what's going to get all this credit. Elden Ring deserves it, which is one of the rare years where I don't think you're going to have like a really, really vocal haters group on this particular game. But, I mean, there'll always be somebody on the internet. It's the internet.
Of course.
But, when I said when we started this conversation, I personally have a hard time believing it will surpass Forbidden West. It's because Forbidden West is a cooler place to be for me. And you've heard me say this in a bunch of these episodes, but I have an issue with Elden Ring or even BioShock some days of just like not wanting to be there in terms of experiencing a video game. And Forbidden West is an adventure story in a weird science fiction post-apocalypse. And I anticipate God of War Ragnarok is mostly going to be Norse mythology, generally wintry landscape. And that's great. And I liked it in 2018. I will like it in 2023. Also in between times, I've had 6 million hours of Valhalla. And that's not taking away from God of War, but it does mean like my bar, if we're thinking of myself as a sim, which we sometimes do around Hoeg House, my bar for Norse-based fictional enjoyment, watch The Northman, good stuff, is pretty full right now. And so God of War has to lean into that at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ash says people thought God of War wouldn't beat Red Dead 2, and it did. And it did, Ash. At least at the Game Awards it did. Not everywhere. And
God of War was my 8th best game of the year of that year, and Red Dead was my 10th best. So it did. It absolutely beat it.
Yeah. My favorite part of God of War is when Marcus Phoenix and his son Atreus hang out in Valhalla with the locusts.
They do. Well, when the locusts attack, that's when Ragnarok really happens. And that's when
that's what starts
the gears have to get into play.
Yeah, for sure.
This is going to turn into a one-man show because I'm muting both of them. So. Dan actually asked a question. How much can we realistically expect given what is a really short turnaround in today's standards with Jesus, God of War?
This isn't going to wind up being a short turnaround.
I think what Dan's asking is, 4-year development. But here's the thing, Dan. The thing that Sony does well from a first-party perspective, especially with these larger AAA games, is there's a lot of resource sharing and a lot of tech sharing. And if you're looking at God of War, right, has already been optimized for PS5. It's already been ported to PC. And you can be damn well sure that all the technology, the engine, the work, the dev tools, all of that is just shared internally, which makes their development a lot easier. They're not starting from scratch like they did with 2018. And even that really wasn't starting from scratch because you're building upon other franchises within first party that they had built upon. So I think if your question is around development time and it only being 4 years, and is that enough to create a blockbuster AAA first party experience? I think they can, because they have everything they need in place to just immediately move into kind of core development rather than having to be in a lot of pre-production, if that makes sense.
No, I think 4 years is plenty for this.
If you're using the same engine, but I think to Dan's point, like it can't really be that revolutionary if it's.
I agree. That's
a sequel. Yeah, I think that's what he was pointing out, which I would tend to agree with, which is why I don't have a ton of hope that it'll be my game of the year. Because I set my bar at revolutionary, and I don't always have kind of an obvious game of the year by that standard, because there's not always a revolution every year, right? And so sometimes it's harder for me to pick. But when I see the revolutionary game, it's like without a doubt, I have no doubts when I see it. So
yeah. Let me get these super chats and get caught up here. Iron Keg in the house with a $5 super chat. Ains. Behind you, I see some plush friends that now have relevance for me. Great experience so far. Also, love you guys. Keep being awesome. So he's referring, if you can't see, to my little Cuphead plushes. He had not played Cuphead before, and as someone who is a seasoned member of the community and loved kind of old school tough shooters. It was amazing he hadn't played it. He started playing it the other day and loves it. So glad to hear it. Jacob Novik in the house with the 50 Krona super chat. For Honor, Assassin's Creed, and now Far Cry 5 on Xbox Game Pass. Even if Ubisoft Plus is coming to Xbox this year, I could be wrong, but is an Xbox Ubisoft acquisition ongoing after Activision Blizzard? Man, you put a lot of words for me to throw out in that one. Thank you for the comment, Jacob. If you guys are free to comment on this, I don't know. It feels like Ubisoft's in a weird place right now, guys.
Ubisoft's getting bought.
Yeah,
but I'm not sure that's getting bought by Microsoft.
Yes,
and it depends on your definitions of ongoing for these various things. Microsoft is going to have a hotline, and their institutional investment crew is talking to everybody all the time, every day, especially right now in an era of consolidation. But they're not going to do anything at all to jeopardize ABK right this second. So it's definitely not anything formal. But they are, they're dating a little bit with the Game Pass stuff. I wouldn't surprise me if Sony dates Ubisoft a little bit as well, because they're getting bought. Mm-hmm. I mean, like there's clear indications that their stock is in turmoil. Their company is in turmoil. They're in a similar situation where somebody's going to be able to get them for a pretty good price. Yep. It wouldn't surprise me if it's a new player in terms of the direct AAA kind of third party pursuits, whether that's an Apple or a Google or a Tencent or an Embracer or a Netflix. Amazon, yes. Amazon's still trying to build internally.
Yeah, I know they are, but I don't know. I think they might end up being the buyer. We'll see.
Amazon, you're looking for companies that have an interest or even a slight inkling that have cash, and Amazon certainly is on that.
Yeah. I heard they're going to Stadia personally, but that's just me.
That's why you don't trust Google dollars.
Gio Rio with the €10 super chat. Elden Ring became a thing for non-gamer friends and asked me about it.
Punch through.
Yeah, Horizon Forbidden West, I would show my non-gamer friends to show how great PS5 graphics are looking, the same way I would show God of War. Although Gears of War works there. It does work there too.
Nailed it. Use whatever G you prefer for showing.
Thank you, Gio. Yes, and I think that's part of what made Elden Ring so special is it did break through that boundary, right? Elden Ring was the zeitgeist of the gaming industry for like a month straight. It just took over. Streaming, YouTube, it was everywhere. And it like I said, I think last week, it's already going to be one of the best-selling games of all time.
Dead game.
Which is crazy.
Dead game.
Anytime it's not top of the stream, it's dead game.
I don't think Elden Ring will ever die, honestly. I mean, you're looking at people arguing for Bloodborne now. I think it's going to be Elden Ring in 10 years.
Thank God. At least it's a better game.
Elden Ring's a good game.
So other games coming this year, guys, and we can kind of pick individual ones here to talk about. I'm going to talk about one. I don't know if it'll be in the game of the year conversation, honestly, but the one that I think
a super chat there, Ains.
Yeah, it's very possible.
I just want to highlight one because I was waiting for you to call this one out.
Oh, okay. No, sorry. I had it here. Yeah, I just wasn't. Yeah, sorry. Gecko Gamer in the house. €5 super chat. Do you think? I don't like you guys. I don't like any of you right now. I'm leaving. I'm done.
You did it, Gecko. We're free.
Gecko, you're my hero. As soon as I saw that comment, I was like, we got it.
Just read it exactly as it's written.
Yeah, man. Read it. Come on.
Do you think that Gears of War is a better game than God of War? Yes, I do. Personally, I have only played Gears of War when it was FPS boosted.
Objection assumes intentionality. Sir, I don't know how you got Gears of War out of GOW.
It's God of War, bro.
Oh boy, Gears for the win. By the way, love me some Gears. Gecko, love you, baby. Thank you.
Clearly, he can't stop thinking about it. I don't know. They didn't even put out a game this year, and they're nominees for Game of the Year. Apparently,
they should be. They should be. The one I was going to mention coming out later this year that has a confirmed release date now that I think could be one of my Game of the Year is Callisto Protocol. I was reading more about this game yesterday, actually, in the interview that Game Informer did with Striking Distance and Glenn Schofield. And just the way that game has been foundationally built. And what I mean by that is when Glenn left Activision, decided to start his own studio at Striking Distance, the talent that he brought in to help him build that studio and the vision he had for this game years ago and how it's kind of come together And what we've seen at that game, for me personally, again, is, in my opinion, looking to be what could be one of my favorite games in some time. And I think if they nail the mechanics of that, the environmental storytelling that can go into a horror game like this, and it's a broad experience, right? Something that decent length and decent kind of AAA quality approach. This is going to be one of my favorites of the year, bar none. So I'm pumped about Callisto Protocol.
All right.
Could be good.
Well, I mean, at the risk of, polluting the current panel, I'm definitely very hopeful for Xenoblade Saga 3. We'll see how that goes. I'm not even looking at Travis's face because I don't want any remote tell on this. I'm just looking away. I'm looking forward to that one a lot. I actually quite enjoyed you said we were the Nintendo Mini Direct. Sorry, I'm just going to swat at things here. The Nintendo Mini Direct had a number of things that I thought were interesting looking. Square Enix always announces wacky stuff. I think you messaged me behind the scenes that they're going to put out their strategy game this fall, or whatever that's called now.
The DioField Chronicle.
Yeah, DioField Chronicles could be. That's this year too.
Yeah,
September 22nd.
We'll see. Feels a little shadowy on that PR side of things. So I start to get my radar starts to go up. It's like, oh, you had a mini direct where you announced like Harvestella and things that I'm also looking forward to. But that one that's coming out relatively soon, you're like, we're going to announce it in the press
Sometimes
release.
they do that, though.
Square Enix is unknown.
They really
I don't have a great deal of faith in their PR decisions. That's separate from their development. So you're absolutely right, Travis. But so we'll check that one out. We didn't mention when we're going over Game of the Year, Triangle Strategy. Very, very good game. I don't think it's going to get a lot of play, but I've enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
And then, Xenoblade, you mentioned Splatoon 3. I've mentioned Slime Rancher 2.
What about Plague Tale Requiem?
I don't get as excited about Plague Tale as I think the rest of the panel does. I think it's a good game.
Okay.
I could see it. It just depends how much. It's kind of got the same problem with God of War in my book, which is that they would really have to change a lot to impress me at the level I would need to be impressed to consider it a Game of the Year contender. Yeah. But I think they could do it. That studio is punching way above their weight, and I think that with the support that they've gotten since the first Plague Tale came out, they definitely could. But I don't think they will. I think they're still trying to prove that they can do AAA, and I think that that's a separate goal than the people who are making prestige games and trying to win Game of the Year and that sort of thing, because the bravest thing they could do is just completely, surprise us with a formula that we weren't expecting. But I think it's more likely that they continue to pursue what they're trying to pursue, which I think is like proving that they can do that level of quality in a product, which is hard to do, man. Not a lot of people make it to that state, especially a studio like theirs with the publisher that they have. I mean, that publisher has pretty much zero AAA developers, so this would be the first one. So yeah, I think that's awesome, and I'm very excited for that studio and that game. But it would really have to surprise me to be Game of the Year as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Neil in the chat makes a good point, although we're gonna laugh about the release date again. Is a Hollow Knight Silk Song? If
that could be,
year.
I was gonna bring that up if that releases this year, dude. But I don't know.
I don't think so.
We'll be playing it in the next 12 months.
Yeah. We'll see.
But yeah, I will say what I've seen of that game, it looks finished. It looks like a finished game. I feel like I'm pretty good now at looking at a game and being like, that'll come out in this amount of time. And Silk Song kind of says to me like maybe 6 months, and that could be this year or next year, depending on how close I am. But I still think it will come out this year. I do.
I assume we're deliberately ignoring Naughty Dog's 2022 release.
Oh, The Last of Us remake?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I don't think that counts, does it?
Is it ineligible? I don't know. These rules are always fun.
Yeah, for me
ineligible
personally, it's ineligible.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I'm gonna love it. I'm a sucker for that game. I've said it.
I'll tell you a game that could potentially come to the top of my charts that we saw this last week.
Let's go.
The new Mario and Rabbids.
Yes.
The stuff that they introduced, the stuff that they concepted out in the strategy stuff. You talk about evolutions. That's some really smart, interesting ideas added to the XCOM, Fire Emblem kind of framework that could really change some of the ways we think about strategy games of that type. I'm not sure. We haven't gotten to play it, but it's one of those that was, as soon as I saw what they were doing with the free movement and some of the other things, I said, they didn't just make this again. They didn't just make Mario and Rabbids again. So, all right. I have a lot of trust in you because Mario and Rabbids was really, really good, like way better than it had any right to be. And then you guys go in and you make these kinds of interesting choices. Oh, that could mean this. That could mean this in terms of how you're going to strategize around areas. I'm like, I am intrigued by that game way more than I thought I would be, because I'd be excited for it. Like, hey, Mario and Rabbids again, cool. But they're going for some of that genre
bigger
stuff.
Yeah, it looks
That's
a
great
great
call out, Hoeg. I could 100% see that stealing the show, because it even the first one, people weren't expecting it, and it was way better than we thought. So yeah, that could.
It's one of my favorite Switch games.
It's great.
It's a great game.
Yeah,
really,
really good game. Ash points out that Resident Evil 2 remake was in the running for Game of the Year that year that it released a few years back. I don't know. That's weird to me.
Another one I wouldn't count personally.
We're gonna have standards, right? Because like Final Fantasy VII remake obviously should be eligible. Like, that's not remotely the same as Final Fantasy VII. So clearly eligible. Travis, you can't even. Okay, have you played Final Fantasy VII remake, Travis?
Yeah.
Okay, so you understand that it is not a remake of Final Fantasy VII, and is in fact.
I just told you I played it. That'd be crazy if I didn't understand that and had played it. But yeah,
I'm not trying to. Jeez, man, I'm not trying to come down on your intelligence level. I'm just setting the stage.
Yeah, no, I get it. There are very different games, and I would say our Resident Evil 2 is at that same level. They changed enough to where it almost feels like a completely separate game. But to me, I just don't get excited about remakes, even if they change a lot. I think it's cool, but it's really never in the running for Game of the Year for me.
Okay.
Yeah, and what I've seen of, like I said, I'm pumped for Last of Us 1 remake. Make fun of that all you will, but I think because of the
I would too, yeah.
Because of that game's mechanics and the story and everything, like the story being the far and away driving factor of that game, which we've talked about before.
And if they don't change some stuff in the story. I don't believe you, Neil Druckmann.
They better not.
They're going to touch it. They're not going to change the core of the story. I would be willing to bet there's a bonus scene or two, especially that set up some future stuff.
I could see that.
I was thinking.
I could see that. Yeah.
I was thinking they throw Abby in there, something like that.
Could be an Abby, like there could be like a side story. This is what's happening in Seattle, or whatever. But they're gonna have a little something. There's no chance they don't.
I'm gonna say this right now. I didn't meet Neil. I was right next to Neil at E3 one year, and he's gonna have a problem if he messes his game up. I will find you, Neil.
He's not gonna mess it up.
I will find.
I really don't think they're gonna like cut to the core of
and just to be clear, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Ains, it's a funny joke until you realize that some people on the internet actually feel that way. Like, I will find you.
Yeah.
I'd be much more worried about Dead Space based on the note that they've given to that remake than I would be about The Last of Us, because they're gonna use mostly the same recordings. But I'd be willing to bet that you've got Troy. You're gonna record a few more Joel lines. You're gonna have a bonus scene, maybe an epilogue to The Last of Us Part 1.
I could see an epilogue for sure. Yeah, definitely. But one other I'll throw out there, and I know we keep joking that there's no defined date, just holiday. But Hogwarts Legacy, if that releases.
So the thing is, even if that game comes out, it's not going to be eligible for Jeff's show.
For Jeff, neither is Callisto.
Well, we don't know. We don't have a release date.
Callisto's not eligible.
Holiday usually means December, and all of December is too late for Jeff's show.
In fact, late November. Scrambling desperately to release it before the third week of December. Yeah. We're going to give it the old college try.
Yeah.
But Callisto wouldn't be eligible for Jeff either in terms of that argument.
True. So very true.
James's rule is not Jeff's rule, I don't think.
No, it's not.
I don't like Jeff's rule. I mean, it's stupid to me.
Me neither.
Jeff's show should be in March or something. I mean, like, that's the honest
truth. Or just February. Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
There's a reason the Oscars are over there. There is.
Yeah, it's very, very silly. Because we've seen, right? They say, well, we include those games in the following year's show. And it's like, well, no, you don't.
So we're going to be talking about Halo Infinite this year?
Exactly.
Halo Infinite was eligible last year.
No,
it was. Yeah, it was. It was nominated.
No, it came out December 7th.
No, it came. Yeah. No, it was nominated because the multiplayer comes out in the middle of November. It was nominated last year.
Well, I mean, the base game would have to be nominated this year, right? It came out in December last year, so it should be eligible this
Maybe
year.
I'm having a psychotic break. I swear Halo Infinite was nominated last year.
The multiplayer launched a few weeks earlier in November. It did. I don't know. Remember,
I don't think it was nominated.
All right. Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong then, because you did see last year, I think Cyberpunk was nominated for music, something like that.
It was nominated for a few things. Yeah.
Like December 8th.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I think you're right. Those games won't officially be on the list, but I think what we've seen out of Hogwarts from their state of play, I really enjoyed. I know we've talked about that.
Hogwarts is going to be awesome.
Hoeg, you appear to be correct that it was nominated for something, but the category it appears to have been nominated for was anticipated game.
Okay.
It won and nominated for award.
Oh, that's right.
There's also something for player voice.
It was nominated for anticipated game while it was out.
While half of it was out.
Happened.
No. So that was 2020. That was 2020, and then in 2021, it won something called the Players Voice Award, which I don't really even know what that means. But
they're trying to
either way, those both sound to me like pre-release nominations.
Yeah, Sante said it got People's Choice. It's just I think that's because I think fans vote is like a small percentage of the official ones, but the People's Choice is 100% fan voice.
I believe the fans have one vote. Collectively in the game awards, with the rest of the judges, each having their one vote.
Yeah, very weird. Anyway,
I didn't say.
Have you ever read the user reviews at Metacritic? That makes sense to me, frankly. I don't think they should get
that's
one
fair.
Vote. Yeah,
yeah. So this is kind of a question I just wanted to throw to you guys too. Is Overwatch 2 is coming out? Overwatch, when it hit in 2016, was it? It won Game of the Year. It also, kind of took the industry by storm. But personally, for me, I don't see Overwatch 2 having that same impact. But then I'm not the first beta kind of went nuts when people started playing it. So I don't know. What do you guys think about Overwatch 2?
I think it's like Destiny. I think it has a loyal fan base. I think that people who are in that world are going to know way more about it and care way more about it than you do. But I think ultimately it has very little potential on like the main stage of gaming. And I say that as a Destiny guy. Like I have no illusions that Destiny is like, it is what it is within the gaming industry, even though you're super into it, You're the same way that you're into Halo Infinite, right? Halo Infinite, you'll keep up all the updates. You'll read all of the 343, monthly newsletters and all that, but they're sort of like a niche. And I think that Overwatch at this point, it had a place in the main stage, obviously, but I think at this point it's going to be a niche just based on the way that they're launching this, which is super confusing to me, by the way. The fact that it's sort of like Overwatch 1.5.
Desperation.
Yeah, it's really
think
weird.
In terms of announcing this as bringing PvE and story into this world that you love, however many years ago it was at this point, taking updates away from Overwatch, letting it languish and die, and then coming back with an announcement here that says, well, we're going to be done with the 5v5 thing. We're going to deliver what you're going to be playing mostly anyway, and then we're going to deliver stuff later whenever. Yeah. Along with, of course, the troubles at Activision and Blizzard in general, give me no faith in any aspect of that product. Does that mean the game won't be good? I assume the people that like it will like it. I don't know how people react. I haven't followed it in terms of going from 6 down to 5 and tweaking these various things. But no, it's not gonna show up on my radar at all. I enjoyed it. I fell off it. I'm unlikely to rejoin it.
I would like the court to acknowledge the fact that everything Hoeg said just now sounds exactly like what you would hear somebody say about Destiny who doesn't play that game either. Like it's kind of crazy how just much of a reflection I see of the Destiny situation and live service games in general. It's kind of get that, but
I mean, they advertise this as we're going to take it away. We're going to bring in a sequel because we're going to have a player versus environment or player versus enemy mode, and we're going to bring this. We're going to make it a full featured world, and then they show up with their roadmap and say, sometime later, we need some money.
Yeah, we don't know all the details of what went on, of course, but we know that Jeff Kaplan, who famously led Overwatch for years and was beloved in the community, left Blizzard, and another director on the game now. But there was a lot of speculation around, is this game in turmoil behind the scenes, and a debate about the direction they they were going to go. And at least from the outside looking in, with how they've delivered the messaging around this and now this delivery of what Overwatch 2 is going to be, you can certainly see some of that in my opinion. It just seems like a very muddled delivery of this game over the past few years.
Well, and they're taking Overwatch 1 away, right? I mean, and people paid for that.
Hey, Naked HD.
Naked HD's here.
Also, weird interactions here.
Yeah, I will say this, that Overwatch is suited better for a live service game. They were kind of what I would consider like a halfway to being a live service game with 1. And so I think 2 has a chance of getting there. But just again, you guys are 100% right. Everything about the launch of this and the messaging and the optics and just the strategy for how they're doing it it scares me, because there's a lot of potential for Overwatch 2 to grow into its own and be a great live service game. But I don't think this is how you do it. I think they know it's not ideal circumstances. But yeah, we'll see.
Well, and they're releasing this in the shadow of being bought. I mean, there's all sorts of things happening behind the scenes on this.
Yeah. Also, mods, please stop deleting my posts from my YouTube.
He's trying to get you over to his other channel.
Christy said, I love that the Naked HD is a thing now. I'm just going to reach out to them and see if they want to sponsor us. I mean, we might as well go full bore at this point. Travis, let's talk offline.
Yeah, can I get a...
Hoeg slowly flips through his Michigan rule professional conduct. See here. Gotta go to my ethics rules. What am I allowed to participate in?
Oh man. Well, I think we've kind of covered, the stuff that's released, the stuff that's coming that we know about anyway. Obviously, I think by July, if there were any other kind of major contenders that were coming this year, we'd probably at least know about them by now. So I guess we'll see what comes out of these games we've discussed, and we'll see how they end up. One thing I think we can all agree on, no matter what, is, sometimes our expectations for products in this industry do not come to fruition all the time. So
I'll give you my number one bet that I'm almost certain will happen, is that there will be a number of independent games that I have no idea exist that will come out between now and New Year's, and I will love the crap out of them.
Very true. Very true.
I'm very excited for a AAA free fall, potentially. We'll see how
give or take
God of War goes. But
well, I mean, the elephant in the room is Forspoken, of course. But
oh my God, I've still got bets out there.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes,
that's my mantra.
Every time I say it, this is why I mentioned it on these episodes. Yeah. I laugh at it in my head, and then Travis is like, "You were wrong last year, Rick." I was like, "I really was." All right.
Let's keep out hope. I'm holding that candle of hope for you. In my head, I have a lot of doubt, but I'm trying to be the positive.
That candle is flickering in a windy corner.
Well, we didn't even mention we got a new Pokemon game coming out. I mean, like, there's all sorts of stuff happening.
True. Yeah. We got a great Pokemon game. I'm excited for that. We'll see. We've actually already touched on the next thing I was going to talk about, guys, is Nintendo's Direct Mini, because of Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope, Harvestella, and so those games, I mean, there was obviously a few games shown here, but those were the ones. And funny enough, if you missed it, Ubisoft actually leaked their own game before the Nintendo Direct by putting up the pre-order page on their site. So Sparks of Hope comes out on October 20th, right in the heart of everything we've talked about. October is just going to be...
It's a heck of a strategy month if Midnight Suns turns out.
True. And that looks, I mean, we just touched on it, right? It looks awesome. I'm very excited for that. Sparks of Hope, I mean.
Oh, right. Midnight Suns, I'm like, they refuse to show the game. They're embarrassed by their cards and their tactics, so we'll see.
So yeah, Sparks of Hope, I'm pumped for it. It'll give me a reason to dust off my Switch, which I'm excited about. And Harvestella, this is not the type of game for me, but I know you said you were excited about it, Hoeg. November 4th, another Square Enix title, which was very obvious if you saw the art style. And this looks like they're calling it. I went to their official page to see what they're calling it this morning, and they're calling it a fantasy life sim. That's what they're calling it.
Hell yeah.
Folks, if you haven't seen this trailer, it's a Harvest Moon game that takes place in Final Fantasy. Let's be clear on this. Yeah. So my family basically purchases virtually every farming game that there is. So we have the Rune Factories, we have the Harvest Moons, we have the Story of Seasons, we of course have the Stardew Valleys, and we love Final Fantasy in this house. My daughters went crazy. So it's going to be really, really cool. I'm excited about Harvestella. I am hopeful that it is everything that its premise could be. But we'll see. It's very funny, right? We keep telling them don't announce things until they're about to release. And yet in the back of my head, I'm constantly like, why were you hiding this? What were you afraid of? How much money went into this budget? Who did you have on this?
Yeah. How long has this been in dev?
Yeah. How long has he been working on this? Are you throwing this away to get my money? It's so funny because that's exactly my reaction is that is awesome. But why didn't I know about this until now?
Yeah, I know why.
Yes.
Square Enix was just holding all their games for some great catastrophe, and when they saw the 2022 fall lineup, they were just like, "Go, go, go! Push them all out!"
That would be awesome. Can you imagine if some studio was like, "Now is the time," and they just open the vault?
Yeah, Guerrilla Games is gonna be like,
"Yep, yeah, no doubt, no doubt." November 4th for that one, by the way. So check out the trailer. It is very unique looking. I think Hoeg described it perfectly. Check that out.
Can you imagine a game like Harvestella coming out on November 4 in the fall, any other year? Like,
I know.
Yeah. But again, I'm excited for this. I actually love live sim games. I guess I love all types of games, but it's surprisingly addictive. And if you're not into these types of games, you should give one a try because you never know, man. You get bit by weird games sometimes if you give them a shot.
And they announced at this same direct Doraemon Story of Seasons 2, right? Like the Doraemon Story of Seasons is an excellent version of the farming sim genre. If you're scared away from a time traveling futuristic robot cat, don't be. The game is great.
And to your guys' prior point about Square Enix, the DioField Chronicle, which we just mentioned. And the interesting thing about this one, so there's going to be a demo of it on August 10th. It releases on September 22nd. And this one is coming to all platforms. So Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, PC. And it is a strategy.
Uses its platforms, but okay.
I don't either. Yeah. It is a strategy role-playing game. So like a tactics-based role-playing game, if you like those. But again, you look at this, you know it's Square Enix.
Yeah, it's a triangle strategy type game from everything that they've shown. So why not release 2 in the same year, Square Enix? Whatever. You're in charge of your production pipeline.
Square is. Between release dates, titles themselves, and then just the platform discussion that Travis just mentioned. Square Enix is just, I think they just throw in darts blindly and be like,
I laugh at them, but that's clearly like where I live.
They get the sticks down and they're
Square Enix proper is clearly like where I live. So it's like I laugh at them because they're so zany and crazy with how they actually operate as a business. But like that's where I get the most satisfaction. I'm really enthused about Dragon Quest Treasures, which I'm positive is aimed primarily at the Japanese market, and I would be willing to bet it's going to make them $1 billion from what I could glean as to how that would work as a business model. So it's going to be a cool game, but I'm excited about that. I'm not as excited about their Crisis Core remake because I didn't know people loved Crisis Core until this year. So hey, all right, more discounts. Cloud Strike.
By the way, speaking of Square Enix, I checked in yesterday because Dan mentioned Babylon's Fall, and I was watching Halo Championship, and I checked in on Twitch just to see, and the one person playing Babylon's Fall is holding on, my friends. He was streaming yesterday, one viewer on Twitch.
One viewer.
Prop him up. No, the game, not him, right? The entire game has one viewer. So
Babylon's Fall, if you looked it up on Twitch, it showed one viewer.
One viewer. One. So
is there one player? Or are there multiple players?
Well, on Steam, remember a few weeks ago, it showed one player. And then yesterday on Twitch, there was one player.
I feel like there's an excellent in-depth character piece to be written about the last Babylon's Fall streamer / player.
Absolutely. That's going to be a long form article in a couple
of years. What life choices led you to this point?
I said yesterday, I wish like one of those huge streamers that has like 100,000 people watching at any time would just invade his stream. You know what I mean? For Babylon's Fall and just watch it blow up. I think that'd be great.
I tell you what, Platinum makes some of the best and some of the worst games ever.
Another bizarre studio in how they do things.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
Also consulting the Oracle.
Let me catch up on super chats because we got a couple from Gecko and Geo. Gecko in the house, €5 super chat. Victoria 3 is still slated for this year, so here's hoping for 4X nerds like me.
Paradox games have their base. There's no question.
No doubt. So I hope that's solid for you, Gecko. Thank you very much, brother. And 2
It'll
from
be great
Gio.
whenever it comes out. You'll have to buy $300 of stuff for it in the coming year. It's all good.
€5 super chat, Gio Rio. Games like Gollum, Hogwarts, Avatar too. Yeah. How big could they become with an already big fan base of itself? By the way, yeah, we forgot to mention Avatar. What is it? Something of Pandora. Frontiers. Yes. First person perspective.
Yeah.
Did you see this coming? I didn't expect this game to be first person.
I actually didn't see this announcement. No, they said it's first person.
First person, and it's going to come out. Oh man, I'm sorry, I didn't have it in the notes, guys. Maybe chat can help, but it's coming out like within a month of the new movie this fall.
Yeah.
So the movie comes out in December. So is it November or January?
I don't remember off the top.
That's
of my head.
fine. No worries. Yeah. I hadn't seen this announcement. I'll go look it up.
Yeah, look it up. But it looks like Avatar Far Cry. Like that might be where they started, and then
Did Far Cry Snowdrop.
I don't think so.
The engine.
Yeah,
Division.
Ubisoft always makes a big deal about when they make Snowdrop games, and Avatar is a Snowdrop game, or at least it was the last I heard about it.
I don't think Far Cry is.
No, I don't think so either.
No.
So I mean, I don't know. I like their engine. Snowdrop does an amazing work with the Division.
It does. I think what Gio's asking here, of course, is you're talking about IP power, right? If Avatar movie is huge again, how big could the game be? Because
I think the games will always be big, but I don't know that there's a ton of overlap on some of these, right? Like the people who are Avatar fans are probably not the same people who are hardcore gamers enough to either have a gaming PC or a console, right? And so like I kind of feel the same way about Hogwarts. Like are the people that are the Harry Potter fans who aren't already gamers, is this going to get them to buy a console or PC? Because Hogwarts isn't a game you can play on your phone or Switch or something that's easy to get. You have to actually invest in like infrastructure to play that game. And so that's my worry with really all three of those is,
Hogwarts is going to sell a cajillion. Gollum
of course
it
is.
Gollum is going to fail, and Avatar is going to be fun, like middle. Like if we're doing this Goldilocks style, Hogwarts is going to win.
I would agree.
Gollum is going to be the worst, and Avatar is going to be in the middle.
Yeah.
You think Avatar will be in the middle? I think
Hogwarts
Gollum might be in the
go
middle.
Crazy. Did you see those views?
Oh, you're just talking about sales.
Yeah.
I'm talking about quality of the game.
Oh, no. Well, then Gollum is like a Styx type game, so it'll be fine. Hogwarts looks like it'll be the best, and I think Avatar. Ubisoft has mentioned it in so many press conferences behind the scenes. I think they're putting their full power of their battle station behind it. I have big hopes for their Avatar game.
Okay.
Me too. I do too. I agree.
I think it'll probably be bad. We'll see.
We haven't seen it at all, right? Like that's your big risk.
Yeah.
There's a few screenshots of it now.
We've seen Avatar games before.
We have seen Avatar games. I mean, like that's when I think of that, it's like Ubisoft making that Avatar game and that King Kong game. Like that's that era that I think of, right?
Yeah.
We'll see. One of my first games on 360, which I still own.
Visually really cool. I remember that was like the demo game, but it was a mess of a game.
If I recall correctly, that's one of those early 360 games that had like 9 achievements, and they're each worth over like 100 or 200, something like that.
Yeah.
Gio, another €5 super chat. Very generous, Gio. Thank you so much, you guys. I hope Gotham Knights will improve from what we've seen. Still looking forward to it. I really love these Owls comics. I think no Batman still is a miss. Yeah, I think we're a lot of people in agreement with that.
Let's hope for it. They got months to polish.
Yeah, I hope so. I will say we got the Robin trailer this week, and that looked a lot better, in my opinion, than the prior whatever that was a few months ago.
I think they were good at making trailers. Ains is the
I know,
like,
but
as soon as they made a trailer after the gameplay, I was like, "Oh, that looks much better." And I just watched the game.
But they showed compact gameplay in this Robin trailer a little bit.
All right, I'll look at that.
Yeah, I thought it looked better than what they showed previously, in my opinion. So we'll see.
Gollum is a dating sim. Go on.
Gollum is a dating sim. I should know this, and I apologize, but when we were talking about the quality of Gollum, right? It's been in development for a long time now. Is this not Monolith? Who's making this game? Because Monolith made the.
Oh no, it's not Monolith.
Lord of the Rings.
This is based on the books, right?
Yeah, it's a stealth action game. I think they said.
Who's
the
dev?
It's from the Styx people. It's Data Lake.
Data Lake.
It's Data Lake. So they primarily make adventure games, They do broaden out a little bit more from there, but I think they also made Styx Master Shadows.
Yes.
And Gollum is going to be Styx. It's got a Gollum on it.
This is going to be a bad game.
It's got a Gollum.
Oh,
Styx
man.
is fine, but it's fine
Styx,
in the kind of, hey, I need a 6.5 to play today.
Styx is fine, but it's not carrying the burden of an existing world that I think
a Lord of the Rings IP.
It's going to make it more complicated because you have to be Gollum. And it's like when they're making Styx, they can make their own mythology and kind of fit it to match the game. And I feel like with Gollum, like, you're going to have to be insane or fighting against yourself or all the things that kind of go with that you're like, how is this game going to work?
I don't know, but I'm DMing Dan Stapleton right now to make sure you review it for us.
Dude, I have no doubt I will be reviewing that game. No doubt in my mind.
There's Travis written all over it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I want you to work in at least 3 metaphors to rings, volcanoes, maybe hobbit feet.
Yeah, furry feet. Yeah, that's all you. You got it, Travis. Good luck.
Yeah, Daedalic makes some of my favorite adventure games. I see it discussing in chat, but it's a wildly different type of game.
Yes. Point and click adventures are very different from action adventure. Yeah, very different.
It is a good game though.
Anything else before I jump over to Halo Infinite Co-op, which I wanted to touch on? Anything else from the Nintendo Direct Mini that you wanted to mention?
I thought it was a very strong Direct.
It was.
And I was very enthused by a lot of the things, including the trailer for Sunbreak, which got me to buy a copy of Sunbreak. So good on you, Capcom.
Monster Hunter? Okay.
Yeah, Rise. Yeah, Monster Hunter Rise is if you guys don't know, or you all probably do know, but if anybody that's listening doesn't know, it's basically like the old Monster Rancher. That's a much older game. Monster Hunter versus what they grew up to in World. So it goes back to kind of the older formula. But I love Rise.
Cool.
Me too.
Cool.
I want to.
All right. So I know we talked about this months ago, of course, and a lot of people have been waiting for this. A lot of criticism at 343 around the co-op, but they announced this week the Halo Infinite co-op flighting is beginning next week. So it starts on July 11th. It's going to run for 2 weeks. The last update we got from 343 several weeks ago when they were talking about just road mapping is that Joe Staten said that the co-op should be released in August. So it seems like they're on target for that, given this date here. A few details about it, just in case people were curious. They did release an interview about it and a lot of good details, but it's 4 players. All the progression carries for each of the 4 players independently, no matter where you are, because they're also adding mission select at this, right? So if you complete a mission while you're playing in co-op, it counts for your campaign. And it's full drop in, drop out as well. So you can jump in, teleport to the host, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's also full cross-play on all platforms. So whether you're on Xbox One, Series XS, PC, Cloud, etc., you can play together. All of the upgrades that you'll get within the campaign are independent. So when you pick up your cores and upgrade your character, etc., that's for you. But that progression will stay to your campaign as well. They are adding new achievements for co-op for when playing with friends, so you can grab those. And then the way they worked out the open world is there's going to be 1,000-foot tether distance, they said. And someone looked that up on the map. It's pretty big. They basically said if you're going into like a huge stronghold that some person could be outside in the world, someone could be in the stronghold and you'd still be fine with plenty of room to spare. So it seems like if you look on the map, it's a pretty big distance you can be apart. But you do get a warning if you start to get close to that. And then if you go beyond it, it gives you a timer and you die because for obvious reasons. Right. So
it's like playing your quest.
Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds really good. Like I said, starts here in a week, basically after we're recording July 11th. And at least, obviously it's been a wait for this to come. But at least they seem to, from a feature standpoint, have nailed this in the sense of it has all the things you want to see out of a good co-op experience. So it's good.
And actually, it's kind of the perfect distance from me playing the solo campaign multiple times that I'm interested in playing it again. So I said before that I was secretly happy that it wasn't launching with co-op because I wanted to be able to play it without my friends talking in my ear. And I still stand by that. And I'll be interested to see how this plays in co-op.
Yeah. Lucas said how many player? It's 4-player co-op. So, yeah. So anyway, looks good. Check it out. If you want to play that, it's an insider flight. So if you're not familiar, I think most people are, but if you're not familiar, the Xbox Insider program, you have to sign up for it, go onto your Xbox account, and then you activate it on your console. And then when this launches, you go into the Insider app, and it'll allow you to download the build of the game to play co-op. So
they call it a flight?
Flighting. Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
I think of that as drinking.
Yep, me too.
Okay.
I'd never heard of that reference, so I've only ever thought of flighting as this video game related.
Oh, flighting is when say you go to a brewery that has like, you know, tons of good beers you want to try or something. They give you
who doesn't do that? Yeah,
they give you you can say I'll try a flight, and they'll give you like 6 different beers to try.
It's a sample
little
platter.
ones. Sample.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Got it.
That's the only time I'd ever heard it as like that kind of concept.
Yep. So anyway, cool. Finally, that's coming. There were some leaks about Forge this week too. That continues to leak because that's been tested forever. But I'll talk more about that in the future. A couple other things just to comment on here is that Sucker Punch did come out. There were some rumors that Sly Cooper was returning, that a studio within Sony was making an infamous game, and basically Sucker Punch came out this week at Sony First Party and said, "Look, no one's making Sly Cooper, and nobody is making Infamous. Those IPs are not being worked on in any capacity right now. So if you are a Sly Cooper or Infamous fan, you're like me with Banjo-Kazooie, we can share a flight of drinks together because they're not coming anytime soon.
So we're not going to be flighting those games anytime soon.
If it's not a third-person action adventure, either set in Norse mythology or robot dinosaurs or with, samurai fighting, you're just out of luck. Sorry, your friends at Sony.
I think in all jokes aside, we have kind of talked about that, right? It's like we obviously all know how successful the PlayStation 4 generation was for PlayStation and how impactful some of those games were, right? I mean, you're talking Last of Us 2 and God of War and Ghost of Tsushima, etc. But it does feel like it's nice when you see some of their studios still have fun experimenting with some of the stuff we used to see, right? And I hope they don't get too far away from that, or just simply kind of outpulse that to have indie studios pick up the slack. You know what I mean? And it feels like they've kind of gone down that route.
That's what I worry about with Insomniac. Is that they're going to lose a little bit of their spirit because they made such goofy games and always ran against the grain. And you see them working on Spider-Man, which Spider-Man was perfect for them, but then now Wolverine, and you're like, what?
And then Spider-Man 2, and it's like, here we go again.
You're like, are they getting?
Don't worry, they're definitely working on another Ratchet and Clank at the same time too.
Yeah, that's true. Ratchet and Clank, I'll give them that. That is really up their alley. But
and of course, Gogol mentioned Jak and Daxter, which man, love Jak and Daxter games. But I don't know.
Naughty Dog's never doing anything that they can't slow down the main theme and make you think about bad things ever again. Jak and Daxter is out. Probably. Can you imagine Jak and Daxter? Can you imagine Naughty Dog making a current Jak and Daxter with their studio's philosophies?
Crash Bandicoot?
Oh, man.
Crash 4 is excellent. Crash 4 is a game we didn't deserve. It's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, Neil's vice president now. So,
look,
yeah.
More power to him. I'm just saying the man is dour, and he makes the things that he makes dour. I don't want to see depressed Jak and Daxter discussing how they feel.
Here's my
no, I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying he has a lot of sway in that studio now, so I completely agree with you. We're not getting
Here's
Jak
my pitch for the next Jak and Daxter game made by Naughty Dog. After the tragic death of Jak, Daxter has to come to terms with his self-identity. And
right. No, exactly. No, one of them has to die. Yeah.
One has to die. One of them has to find out something about himself in a
after Daxter was brutally murdered for his fur.
Oh my gosh.
Let's write it. Let's pitch it, Hoeg. We could write and pitch this to Naughty Dog. Let's do it.
Too funny. The last thing I was going to mention, and I don't know if this is worth mentioning. I feel it's worth calling out just because our audience knows how we are here. But if you didn't see, there were a lot of kind of commentary this week from developers within the industry around kind of just the toxicity that exists in the fan base, and people reach out to them. And I know Corey Barlog spoke up about it. The developer of that new indie game, Hypercharge, posted a video about it. A bunch of other developers spoke up about this last week that basically said, look, a portion of you guys need to chill because we are humans. We are just like all of you. We're trying to make something great, and everything we do, all of our work day in and day out, is for you guys. And I think it just bears repeating and mentioning that as much as we talk about here, kind of being a positive light in the community. And I don't think this message is going to probably go to anyone listening to this who doesn't agree with us. But in case it does, developers, video game development is incredibly challenging. And more than probably 99% of us or more will ever understand if you're not a developer. And they spend years and years and sometimes decades developing this craft to create what equates to entertainment for us. And the mere fact that we have accessibility to these developers and publishers today through social media, and that many of them try to be transparent and interact with fans and kind of share what they're working on and share some of the positivity and excitement that goes with creating something as challenging as a video game. We should respect that and honor that. And I think that it's incredibly distasteful that we still continue, and I'm not sure if we'll ever get away from it, but there's still this subsection of the gaming community that just, treats that as if it's expected and they're deserving and they, all these other things I could say, but we need to do better in that regard. And I would say that celebrate developers as much as you have a voice in the community. Use that to promote developers, promote game development, and support publishers, and just be a positive light, because some of the stuff you see out there, some of the things these developers get in comments and DMs and emails and all these things, is just absolutely unacceptable. And so that's it. That's my piece
I
for
think the height of like discourse with developers was that time that people sent all those cupcakes to EA.
BioWare,
and the pizza to
Bungie, was it, or 343?
It was Bungie, thank you. Yeah, it was Bungie or 343. Do stuff like that. That's way better. Well, send cupcakes. I'd rather that.
Yeah, like
cupcakes.
Look at Bungie, right? You may not agree with everything Bungie does, but they've created something that people like Travis and many, many others, millions of others, have spent thousands of hours of their life on, enjoying. And Travis like, oof, I can't believe it. But you know what I mean? Entertainment.
You got paid for a lot of it.
You've made lifelong friends through the community. You run shows based on the community. You go to events because of that community, all because Bungie created Destiny. You don't have any of that without it. And that needs to be understood and respected and appreciated. So that's my piece. Hoeg, you look confused for some reason.
No, I don't know whether I want to actually be critical on this, because I agree with the overall thrust of your statements. So if I look confused, it's a matter of, do I even really want to say anything here? Because I do think that, one, harassment, always wrong. Ad hominem attacks, always wrong. Toxicity in general, that kind of behavior towards people that are human beings and for the most part are trying their best on this kind of stuff, always wrong. However, I do think that there are developers and publishers and Twitter accounts that shit stir and that deliberately create issues and then use that to some extent as shielding for themselves in certain instances. So I think the overall thrust is correct. I do think certain developers and publishers and people in the gaming industry at that level, at that side of things, contribute to some of it. And so I do celebrate developers. I do celebrate the creation of video games, the experience that video games give. I love this stuff to death. But I do think that we need to use a bit of a scalpel rather than a sledgehammer when we talk about the overall thrust of conversation and discourse on these particular topics. And maybe I'm a little overly sensitive to that because I do have videos and I do have things where the subjects contact me and people react to those things. And I am Mr. Reasonable Minds Can Differ. You won't hear an ad hominem attack out of me, at least not if we're not in person, because I'm just a crazy person if I'm off stream, obviously. But outside of those circumstances, I think that criticism can quickly be defended against by claiming it as harassment or things along those lines. And I do think it's something that we should at least be cognizant of because, I've seen even some of the people that you mentioned, which we won't identify specifically here, should stir online and specifically look for those kinds of reactions and do those kinds of things and then, spin around on that. So we can all be better operating on social media. We can all be better conversing and treating each other with respect. And I think in at least some of these extents, it takes two to tango. But I wasn't even convinced I wanted to say that as much, Ains, because I think your message is fantastic. And I think that's a great place to be at, which is positivity, celebration, etc. As you know, we prep for our roast episode. But yeah, I think I just have a lot of touch points with the internet, with the press, with areas of high levels of sensitivity over the last 4 to 6 weeks specifically. And so I've been accused of things in my line of work, even with Reasonable Minds Can Differ and everything else, that says, okay, yes, absolutely, treat each other with respect. But there are bad actors on both sides of the equation.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It is certainly not definitive black and white, right?
There's of course.
There's always a few gray
areas. That's why you saw me kind of be like, I was me literally thinking I wasn't like performing for the camera.
This is like that time I said that unreasonable minds can also exist and differ.
Of course.
And then everybody was like, Travis, why you bring that up? And I was like, well, I just, there are some unreasonable minds out there.
Well, that's right. Ade's saying right here too.
Yeah.
Is, Ade's saying the same thing, is that some content creators will kind of enjoy the chaos, right? Or feed into the chaos, which is exactly what Rick's saying. But I was 100%. Making I think it's a generalization, right? To say, in general, we all love this stuff, right? We're here talking today, and I met both of you because of these things, right? And all of everyone in chat. So, So I like I said, I don't think this is a message that anyone here at Season Gaming and Bitcast is unaware of, or that follows our work independently. You know what I mean? But it's just worth calling out here and there, I think. So with that, let's go ahead and close out. We got a couple things to mention here, actually quite a few things to mention. So my review of Phobia, that horror game that came out, has been up. If you wanted to check that out, that's up on the site. We also did a little hardware review of the new Xbox Turtle Beach controller that Eric took care of. There's a video and a written review of that you can check out. It's his first video for the channel. So if you would check that out, we'd appreciate it. AMD came out and announced that and this is a mouthful, their Fidelity FX Super Resolution 2.0 technology is now available in the Xbox GDK, the General Development Kit. So if you're kind of wondering what that is and what impact that will have on games here in the future, Carl and I did a For the Record episode on that, which explains it at a high level and kind of talks about things, what it does for games, how developers can use it, how it compares to DLSS, etc. So if you're into the techie side of thing, check that out. That'll be live for everyone tomorrow as we record this, or Tuesday, excuse me. My feature, it's a long feature, nearly 30 minutes, I think, on how the big three make their revenue, where the revenue streams are, where it comes from, the breakdown of that between Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo. That will go live for everyone this week as well. It's a previous patron exclusive, but that'll go live. So if you're kind of curious about how the big three do that, how successful they are, or want to know the details of that, that's going to be live as well. And then lastly, just a reminder, like I said at the beginning of the show, please look out for our giveaway this week. Going to be giving away 2 full price games, any platform. Yes, it applies to everyone globally too. I'm happy to send that over, and we can figure out a way to make it work if you're not in the US. So don't worry about that. But it will be leading up to our show next week, where the 4 of us are back together to do the Bitcast roast of the greatest games of all time. Yeah. Say it again.
W3YFG.
You should just add a 2022 under that, because it's obviously going to just take off.
That's true. Yeah,
that's true. What's it stand for again? I forget the words.
What's wrong with your favorite game?
That's right. What's wrong with your favorite
W3YFG.
game? All right. So look for that next week. I hope you all can join us. It should be an absolute blast. With that, I will hand it over to Rick. What's happening, man? Where can people find you?
Well, I was away from content creation for a little while, so outside of a question time stream.
Good for you.
Took a bit of a break. We will be back after the 4th, doing some more stuff this coming week. Otherwise, we got a lot of good old content. Like I said, covered a lot of the Supreme Court decisions that came out at the end of their term. So if you're interested in something a little more serious, that's on the channel right now. The Dobbs video has proven pretty popular. So I'm very happy about that, because I think it's an informational and educational approach to understanding what they just decided. So I will pitch that, absolutely. But you can find that at Hoeg Law on YouTube, or you can follow me on Twitter at Hoeg Law, where generally I'm doing things like Stranger Things reviews. So absolutely follow me there. Otherwise, not been a lot of content in the last 7 days.
Man, as much as you were producing prior, it was probably very not only deserved.
I'm hopeful
but
the reset was enough. Yeah, no, absolutely. I was a little burned out. There's no question.
Yeah,
How dare you take a break? Weak.
Well, I get very polite messages that are like, Hoeg?
I'm sitting here waiting.
You were here every day, hanging out every day for 9 hours. What happened?
And by the way, I did forget, we also have a review up on the site, which Elu just reminded me in the chat of DNF Duel, the new fighting game as well. So check that out because that seems to be popular among fans. Travis.
Hey, guys. Happy to have you here. Hope you enjoyed the show. You can read my preview of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 on, I think, July 7 is when that's going to be officially going live. The full review will be on July 20. The game comes out 29, so probably 27, 26 will be my full review. I'm also previewing a game that you may remember from a Sony showcase called Rollerdrome, which is a game where you ride around on rollerblades and shoot things. It is a very funny looking game. I'll have a preview for that in the middle of this month as well. And other than that, you can watch me talk about Destiny on Thursdays. You can read all my articles, previews, reviews on IGN or on our YouTube channel. Or you can follow me on Twitter at TyGuyTravis if you want to see me rarely tweet, but when I do, mostly just razzing on my friends. So
he pops into my timeline.
Pop into her timeline. I say, "What's up, dude?" I just just chilling. So I've got my head down with a bunch of content right now, so you probably won't see me in social very much because I'm a big.
You got another 150 hours to go in Xenoblade. Who can blame him?
That's right, man. You got to keep going, chugging along.
And we may need to get him some security detail when that review goes live. We'll have to see.
I was going to say, I'm going to be there at the preview moment, and I just to prep for when the review comes out. There will be a link to where I can send my mail thoughts.
Right, yeah. ESA will go ahead and hook you up with my physical address. And you can go ahead and...
The ticking is just a bedroom clock. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's what I figure.
If the review's a 9 or a 10, please refer them to Bitcast. If it's below, please do not. Thank you.
Yeah.
Please be judicious about your links. This was going to be a 9, folks, until Ains and Hoeg at the following email addresses convinced me it was actually a 6.
Yeah.
I still want to see you give it like a 4 just to watch the world.
Oh, man. Yeah, I would never be able to get away. As always, I will give the game a score that I think is correct, regardless of any outside pressure or personal feelings. I am not afraid of people's hate of me at all. It does not matter. It doesn't affect me. Even if they killed me, I'm honestly so about life. So I'm either way, I'm an immovable.
That would be one heck of a Law and Order episode if I
I'm so about life.
Life gets a 5 or a 6 from me, so I'm not whatever, dude.
So we got I'm so about life and game developer Sony Santa Monica should make you do stuff in God of War.
They should focus on the things you're doing in the game. Yeah, like that. Yeah. Oh man, I'm on a roll today, guys.
I love it.
Killing it. All right. As always, chat, you've been awesome today. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you check this out, as always, later on, or you listen to us on the audio version, thank you as always. And stay tuned for next week's roast special. It should be a blast. We hope to see you there. Until then, take care.